Thank you for joining us on our journey here to preserve the history of mixed martial arts. When I wanted to take on this project, I needed help. I brought in one of my favorite matchmakers, Miguel Iturrate, and the MMA detective, Mike Davis. So to do this, we've been able to preserve history. Welcome and enjoy. Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you very much for all the support. We've been getting huge growth going on right now. You are sharing, subscribing. You do a lot of things for us. I really appreciate it. Getting these clips out here, getting the word out there, having so much fun doing these deep dives. We have another very good one for you. Drew Fickett coming up. Very difficult one to get. You don't see a lot of him out there. I don't even know how we got a hold of it. Mike, how did we do this?
All right. So it took me 3 months to track him down. And it was through various people, text messaging. Not easy. I got his phone number from a reliable source. He refused to respond to me altogether. And then I started mentioning flat Earth. And that's how we got here for Drew Fickett. Miguel, this is going to be a fun one. I mean, I know you've had some experiences with Drew. I think because he's such a hard interview to get, we're not going to push on his out of the cage activities too hard, but we're going to concentrate on his actual fights. And if his interactions with law enforcement come up, then it just is going to have to come naturally.
Well, yeah, I think, the cool thing about Drew Fickett is nobody's mentioned it yet. 50 Fight Club member,
Yes,
what I
sir.
mean? So we got material to talk about. Let's see what he wants to talk about. I think we got probably 6 or 7 years since he last competed in MMA and stuff. And I think that's a good, he may be ready to tell some stories. So I'm looking forward to it. And and if it goes off the, off the mats into the real world, it probably gets more interesting. So we'll see.
Yeah. So Chris, what I've done is we like the regional circuit, like the independent grind is what we talk about here. And what we're going to do is we're going to concentrate on Rage in the Cage because he's got a very prolific career there. And not many people have things to say publicly about Rage in a Cage, but there's also very little online as well. So I think we start scratching that surface, some real good juice might start coming. And if we make it to the UFC, because he's got about 20 fights in Rage in the Cage, that'll be like a little bonus time for us. So we're going to do the independent grind of Arizona and see where it takes us. So we got to like, share, subscribe. Thank you, man, dude. Huge growth. We need another push. Give us some more and, enjoy the show.
Okay, welcome back, fans. Thank you for paying attention. Very excited about this. Another 50 Fight Club member, fought for a long time, one of the old school guys like myself. He's going to have some wild stories, especially being out in Arizona. So, ladies and gentlemen, Drew Fickett. Drew, how you doing, brother?
I'm good. Hanging in there.
Good. So one thing I like to start off with and kind of go over a little bit about like your background, like your sporting background. You play football, baseball, wrestling. How'd that translate into MMA? How did you get into sport?
When I was 10, I started doing karate with like a traditional karate Kaji Kembo guy before there was even UFC. So I think I was 10 years old. And then in high school, I started wrestling. My freshman year, I started wrestling, and I loved wrestling. I was playing football before that, but as soon as I started wrestling, I didn't want to do anything else. I just wanted to wrestle. It's just one of those things. So
yep. The wrestling has an ability to take over your life like no other sport really can, or like no other high school sport.
Yeah, it's definitely it's not for everybody, but for the people that enjoy that kind of pursuit and that kind of pain, there's nothing else like it, right? I mean, there's no other thrill. It kind of ruins life for you
well, in a way, I think that's what drew me into it was called NHB at the time, no holds barred fighting. What we call MMA now was you don't get anything else like wrestling. There is no other thing like it. This is very similar. It's just a little different. So
yeah.
Drew,
I just remember watching the first. What?
No, you go ahead.
I just remember I mean, I was still in high school when I watched like the first UFC. We were like freshmen, sophomore wrestlers, like didn't know shit about shit, you know. And we were watching like these huge guys in the UFC, like elbow these guys, like smash these little guys' faces in. And I'm like, that's so awesome. I want to hurt someone like that. That looks like great. Yeah. Like in wrestling, we can't elbow and punch and stuff, but that looks fun. Like, yeah.
That was gonna be my question for you. Are you like a Coleman type, who was like a wrestler that didn't mind a street fight, or were you like a Gray Maynard type who was like, you know, a gym rat and really stayed out of trouble? Because, you know,
more of a gym rat. I'd say I was more of a gym rat. Yeah, I went to a really pretty prestigious Catholic high school, so I mean, they didn't put up with anything. It's kind of funny. I actually ended up like got a great education, and I actually got kicked out of high school like the last semester of my senior year. So I didn't get to win a state championship because they kicked me out with like 2 weeks to go till the regionals, and then I didn't qualify for that because I was kicked out of school or whatever. So it was pretty gay. I was pretty heartbroken because my whole life, I mean, I was the kid who woke up at like 4 a.m., ran to school, wrestled in the morning, slept through all my classes, but somehow still got really good grades. And then, you know, went to practice, trained all night. And then I went to karate practice, and I just did that every single day for 4 years.
Man.
So, you know, I agree. I mean, Drew, I think the one takeaway, just by like from an overview of looking at your career, you've always been in shape. Always.
Well, I wouldn't say that, but for the fights I trained for, I was in shape.
Yeah. So
for the fights where I had a chance to win some money, like what do you got, Chris? Like 7 or 9 fight of the night bonuses?
6. That's just fight of the night, but I had a couple other like knockout and submission, all that stuff. So they had 10 total.
When you get bonuses like that, you don't even care if you win or lose. It's great. I only got one against Karo Parisyan, and you know, it was a good fight. He won. Man, I was like, wow, that's more money than I've ever seen in my life.
It's definitely a good consolation prize. Definitely good when you like lose a fight and you're like, dang, and they give you the bonus money. Like, oh, you know, it's not too bad.
Yeah, it's pretty nice when they're paying you like $2,000 a fight. It's like, you know,
and all of a sudden
it almost becomes like a real career, like almost a real source of employment, not a hobby.
Yeah. Not a hobby, exactly, man. That's I remember, you know, just going out there and trying to think, man, you got to put on a fight, man. You're gonna have a good chance to get fight of the night. You know, win, lose, or draw. It is what it is, you know.
Yeah, well, you were always an exciting one to watch.
Appreciate it, thank you, man. I remember we had a fight scheduled at one point. I don't remember exactly what happened.
Yeah, it was fucking gay. I went to the Palms and I went out with Danny Lozon, and we didn't even get into that much trouble. And the Palms freaking trespassed me. I don't know. I wasn't in dress code or some stupid thing. It wasn't even like a cool story, right? I wish it was a cool story, but it wasn't. Like I think I had a tank top on in one of their special clubs. So they kicked me out, and then they walked me outside and they trespassed me from Palms for the night or whatever. Well, Dana found out about it and he kicked me out of the UFC. I'm like,
really?
It sounds about right.
I never heard the word, man. They just said, you got to do, I mean, you know, they are Joseph because you got to do opponent, Chris.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, that would have been awesome. Fuck.
I know, man. I mean, yeah, but
just to have good fights, you know, like just to have good fights. Like that's why I still compete, because I want to compete, right? I don't care about like being famous or care about like making money fighting now, because now I have a business, so I'm fucking successful. But man, there's just nothing else like stepping on the mat and competing, you know? It's like, that's one thing about like some of these guys nowadays. It's like, they're so like tickety-tacky with like, oh, I don't want to take that fight because it's not good for my career, or oh, that style just doesn't really match up well for me right now. Like fucking pussy, just fight. If you're good or you put in the work, you'll get there. If not, I mean, it's not going to work out. And if you have an attitude like that, obviously you already have something.
You see what Shawn O'Malley is saying there. He's like, I don't want to fight anybody ranked because I don't get paid enough. My career has to go a certain way. And once they pay me that, I'm like, dude, they're different. Like back in the day, you didn't fight for money. You fought because you like to fight. You know, I have a problem turning down any fight. I can't do it, or I don't know. I just like a sickness or something. These guys have no problem turning down fights. They got a different mentality. We just raised different or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I just want to compete as many times as I can while I still can before I die, right? That's all I care about.
So,
Okay. Well, why don't we start with the first one?
Yeah, first fight.
Okay.
Drew, in this interview, what we're going to do is we're doing a deep dive where we take a microscopic look at your career, and it's to just kind of document history. And all of our questions are Rage in the Cage related. We have no questions. I mean, they might come up outside of Rage in the Cage.
Let me grab my tablet so I can look at the list with you guys, because I probably don't remember. Probably don't remember.
Mike's got it, baby.
Yeah, but I'm more of a reader, like word guy, so I need to be able to see it.
No problem.
The names.
No problem.
See if this tablet still works.
There we go. All right. Hey, Drew, let me take you through it, if you don't mind.
All right.
All right. Here we go. So your first fight ever on record, and I'm not saying this is obviously your first fight, Rage in the Cage 4. Somehow in your first fight, you're the main event against Shawn Polso. Do you recall
Was that your first fight?
Shawn Polso. Main event.
Was that your first fight?
We didn't really have main events back then, man. It was just a fucking square cage with no padding and a bar.
That's what we want to hear, Drew. That's the story. Because Rage in the Cage was like the show from down there. I mean, they ran hundreds of shows. This is Rage in the Cage 4.
It was just some scumbag, like, getting a bunch of guys together that wanted to fight. Roland Sarria. And by the way, I miss Roland Sarria, because at least with Roland, you knew what you were going to get, an absolute scumbag. And he didn't deny it. You know, he knew he was a scumbag. You know, he'd pay you $30 after a fight, and even though he owed you $500, and he's like, who do you think you are, Chuck Liddell? You know, whatever. But at least you knew what you were going to get. Some of these guys, they act like they're cool, and they ain't fucking cool. They're not cool.
Okay,
I'd rather have a jerk that's.
So do you remember that fight? Do you remember the fight he's talking about?
Yeah, I think Waleed, my buddy Waleed, fought on the same card. It was our first fight.
Okay,
I
so
thought
it was
number 2. I thought it was Raising the Cage 2, but whatever. Let me look up the names here. What do you guys use? ShareDog still, or?
Usually I do about 3 or 4 different different sources. But here, let's just kind of concentrate on Polso. So when you pulled up to the venue that day, did you have an idea that fighting would be such a huge part of your life?
Yeah, I knew fighting was going to be a huge part of my life since I was 10 years old, and I watched freaking Seagal and Van Damme movies. Because I thought that shit was real. I thought Bloodsport was real, dude. I thought that really happened. And Kickboxer and Tung Po. I thought all that shit was real, dude. A part of me still does.
Okay, so Shawn Polso,
right? Shawn Polso.
So your first MMA bout, were you training for that fight anywhere?
Oh, we were just training, me and Waleed and, some guys in Tucson. It was always wrestling. I was always preparing to wrestle, and we were always doing karate and boxing a little bit, but I didn't learn to box until like a few years ago. So I don't know. We were just ready to go. We were always training. That's what we did for fun. We trained. Like most kids, you get hooked up with? Went out. We just trained.
How did you get hooked up with Rage in the Cage?
Me and my buddy Waleed, who's my attorney now. He's a great guy. Arab guy. Don't fuck with the Arabs. We went to an event. I think we went to Rage in the Cage 1 or 2. Maybe that's why I thought it was 2. And we saw it, and we were like, dude, these guys suck. We could beat their ass. So yeah. So then we went back up there. We both fought, and he beat a guy he wasn't supposed to beat. That was cool. I don't know. It was fun. It's cool because there was no boxing commission, and you just weighed in, and it didn't really matter. I mean, they tried to match guys up the best they could, but
yeah.
We just
How many
train.
how many people do you think were in attendance, man? Was it well attended? Was there a lot of people there?
Like a really crowded nightclub, cowboy nightclub, rock and rodeo, maybe. I can't remember the name of it. It was up in Phoenix. It's just a bar, you know, people bar stools with a big generic like backyard cage put up.
Nice.
Yeah.
What year was this in,
awesome.
Mike?
It was 1999.
Oh,
there you go. 1999, nice. Before
straight old school. I love it.
So from your first fight, obviously you enjoyed it. You win a decision against Shawn. You wait an entire year before you step in there again at Rage in the Cage 16, April 12th, 2000, against Jamie Clark.
What was the time off? Were you training? Or you just didn't get a fight? Were you wrestling? What was going on that year? Why did you not do it for a year?
I think maybe I got in a motorcycle accident.
Oh, so you were injured?
Yeah, because I was trying to wrestle. I was at Pima Community College trying to wrestle. And actually, James Terry, who's a fighter in Bellator, good friend of mine, and Jamie Varner, Efrain Escudero, they were all my close to teammates or actual teammates on the wrestling team. But anyway, yeah, I was trying to wrestle, and then I don't know, I got a motorcycle, and you just some hotshot kid doesn't know how to drive a motorcycle, and I hit some truck head on and broke my foot. Yeah, broke my foot. So I was out for that time.
That's okay. Luckily, only broke a foot like that, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was lucky. I actually jumped up and cleared the truck before it just completely destroyed me.
Dang.
So I was lucky.
Holy cow. So obviously, it seems that you have found a home at Rage in the Cage because you got a bunch of fights there. In your third fight.
Yeah, I mean, there was no other place to fight.
Hold on, Mike. We didn't even ask about how the fight went. How'd the fight go? Your second one.
The second one?
Yeah, what's the guy's name, Mike?
Jamie Clark.
How'd I submit him?
Yeah, rear naked choke. Your specialty.
Well, I can't really remember all those, but yeah, I mean, you know, at that time, a lot of these guys, they didn't have like, you know, I was a decent, solid like college wrestler, so these guys didn't have that kind of pedigree. And a lot of them were like karate guys, and strikers, or jiu-jitsu guys, but they weren't like a solid wrestler who just take you down and rape you, you know. There's just nothing they could do. They didn't have a chance.
Yeah, that was back in the era when everybody was one discipline. What is this guy? He's a kickboxer. This guy's a wrestler. Like, it was very few guys who did two. Like, two?
Yeah.
They had their specialty.
You know, who else had a kind of a style like mine that they were developing was Jake Shields. You know, he was a wrestler with good ground, great ground, but he wasn't like a pull guard, like Nick Diaz kind of jiu-jitsu guy. You know, he was like a take you down and pressure and pass and take your back and choke you out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which always just kind of made sense to me mathematically. Like, I mean, I don't know. It just seemed like the highest percentage, lowest risk way to win the fight. So
absolutely,
that's what I focused on. I was also a big
the
fan
MMA
of
community. Go ahead. I apologize, Drew.
Oh, it's okay. I was also a big fan of Marcelo Garcia.
Oh yeah,
the greatest jiu-jitsu guy of all time.
Yeah, ever. For sure.
There'll never be anyone like him.
Yeah. So you're 2-0 at this point. The MMA community isn't that big. And you go from April 12th to May 27th. So essentially you're kind of fighting on almost every Rage in the Cage. And you fight in Tucson against Owen Phelps, where once again you secure
that fight was
another
pretty cool.
Show.
That fight was pretty cool. So like this kickboxer guy, I remember he was from some gym, some Muay Thai gym, right? So I just take him down and I armbarred him. But in the middle of the fight, after he tapped out and they stand us up and he was complaining that he didn't tap out, right? So I'm like, fuck it, start it again. So the ref is like, no, you won, he tapped out. I'm like, no, he just says he doesn't tap, do it again. So we started the fight again. And the next time he threw some kick and it was great because he was a non-wrestler. So I got to like lift him and slam him with like the greatest WWF slam ever. You know, the kind of shit that doesn't work in a wrestling room. But against a guy who does no wrestling, man, it's like throwing a rag doll around. So I slammed this guy, and then I get a rear naked choke and tapped him out. So I got a rear naked choke out of it. But it was actually an armbar. It was an armbar and a rear naked choke.
Yeah, I think that's 2-0. Yeah, I agree. 2-0 that thing.
I think so.
Be good to get that choke, and then just hold it and be like, "Are you sure this is your tap? Because this is what the last one felt like to me." And hold that. So.
Well, that's kind of what I did with Josh Neer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Let me ask you one of Chris's questions, but you got a couple of nicknames floating around, like the Master,
Night Rider.
Well, like, which was your favorite? Like, what's your nickname? Like,
whichever one makes people laugh more, because it's a big joke to me. The Master. I don't know if you guys have seen it, man. I don't even know if I remember the name of the movie. What's the name of the movie with the black dude? He's like the jive Bruce Lee guy.
The Shogun of Harlem.
Yeah. Yes. What's the name of the movie? Shogun. The
Last Dragon, maybe.
That's it. That's it. The Last Dragon. That's where I got it. Me and the girl are dating at the time. We watch that shit all the time. It's hilarious. I thought it was funny. It's not. I'm like joking about people calling themselves the Master. Actually.
Yeah.
That's how I originally came up with it.
Some would argue.
And then Knight Rider. I don't know. Knight Rider's is great because John Randall screams Knight Rider, Minnesota Vikings defensive tackle, and he got it from Mad Max, Mel Gibson, and the guy who runs around. Does that in the Mad Max movie.
So
they're both old school names then, huh?
In terms of like nicknames, Frank Shamrock nicknamed himself the Legend. So
you can't nickname yourself like that. It's stupid.
I don't know.
Stupid. You gotta be funny, man. You gotta joke around. You can't make fun of yourself, then you're not cool.
Exactly.
So all right. So now you're riding 3-0. You're a local guy. People are starting to get to kind of understand. They're starting to hear your name. And on June 21st, so you went from May 27th to June 21st, Jeff Horlacher.
Jeff Horlacher. You know, there was always this kid at these freestyle tournaments that we wanted to wrestle because he wore like gym shoes to wrestle and like a t-shirt. Like he didn't even have a singlet. He wore a t-shirt and shorts and shoes, like real shoes, not even wrestling shoes. And that was the guy we always want to wrestle because we could grab him and every time 5-point throw right on his head. We always had this contest. We were all trying to break his neck, but Jeff Horlacher was like that guy. He was the guy that everybody wanted to fight because he was so fucking awful.
His nickname was the Struce Killer.
Struce Killer. Guy's got like 9 kids.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the Struce Killer. I fought him like 2 or 3 times. I think my whole team, everyone fought him on my team, except Seth Baczynski. Seth Baczynski always wanted to fight him. He's like, I want to fight the Struce Killer. I'm like, sorry, man. We all got the opportunity. I don't know what he's doing now.
He probably has a broken neck.
Well, you know, actually, he did knock out a pretty tough guy. He knocked out this guy, Eddie Arismendi, somehow. So he did have fight in him.
Yeah.
But
he's a locker room hero. He saved shows. He was the guy.
He was a locker room hero.
He got paid a little bit more than everybody else, and it wasn't to win.
Yeah, it was going there and get beat up by the good guys.
Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah.
So after you get through with the Struce Killer, which you survived once again with you squeezed by with a rear naked choke. You get your first real big fight.
To this, he doesn't get too upset at me. But come on, Jeff. Could have put a little more time into the sport.
So you get your first real big fight, in my opinion. Right now you're 4-0. You got 3 subs, one decision. And July 26, 2000, they throw you up against Bill Cameron, who's
the cannon.
4 subs, 4 decisions, 4 subs, and he's 8-0. This is a legit tough test for you.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah, he was pretty good.
How'd the fight go? Do you remember?
Yeah, I dominated him against the cage. like dirty boxing. Took him down a couple times. He was like, man, he was probably like 35. Like he was up there in age compared to me at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just too much physically for him, I think, and then with the wrestling. But he was tough. Remember, he took me down at the end, you know, and punched me, caused my first cut. So that was the first time I ever got stitches in a fight.
Man.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. He's a nice
Nice.
guy.
Was that a title fight?
Phoenix. What do you consider a title fight?
They give you a belt?
Yeah, did Roland
I don't think so.
spend
I don't think
$30, $40
Roland
a
ever.
title?
I don't think Roland ever invested in belts. I think that was out of his overhead expenses.
So at this point, when he's putting like other fights, are they becoming more popular, more crowded? I mean, is he getting a good following?
Yeah, Roland's making money.
At least, are you guys getting paid at all for these?
Not much. I think $75, $100. I didn't care.
I know. I'm
just-
the same way.
I didn't give a shit, but I'm not saying that's smart. But hey, I just wanted to compete. I didn't care, and it's not like these guys are world beaters. So whatever.
Yeah, good point.
Now you say, in general, you're right that the matchups and things like that, and obviously with your pedigree, you were ahead of the game. But there were good guys coming through that show. Homer Moore, eventually Diego Sanchez showed up. You mentioned a couple of your teammates that also did MMA. Was there starting to be a scene down there, like, where you were beginning to take it more seriously, or was it still straight a hobby?
No, it was pretty much just a hobby. I mean, it was just a lot of fun, I got to wrestle basically and compete without dealing with the bullshit of organized sports or the authority of a coach and a college, that kind of thing. So I was my own coach, I was my own boss, and I didn't have to listen to anyone except myself, which is both good and bad. But at the time, that's what I was looking for. So that's what I got.
Okay, that's fair.
So in regards to Miguel saying that the scene is about to build and you're kind of taking it as a hobby, your next fight, September 24th, is against Ryan Bowe.
Who's Ryan Bowe?
He's a stud.
Yeah.
Really? You guys know who Ryan Bowe
it's Miguel's favorite fighter.
It's not the same guy.
Yeah.
It's not the same guy?
No. Ryan Bowe that you're thinking of, Mike, is obviously the guy who fought in Shooto from the early days.
Yeah.
Fought Origami and stuff. And I think he met, you're looking at a guy named Ryan Brown. He also fought Edwin DeWeese. So he's got a couple of tough fights on him, but it's not the same guy.
Okay. So your co-main event there, once again, you stop him in the first round, and your record is climbing. You're 6-0.
Did you knock him out or did I choke him out?
KO.
Yeah, it says KO punches a minute 16.
And this Ryan Bowe was not the same one.
Well,
that's why he goes.
For argument's sake, it's the correct Ryan Bowe that's Miguel's favorite fighter, not the Ryan Bowe that everybody else thinks.
Yeah.
Okay.
So after that, September, you got a quick turnaround. October 4th, Michael Chavez, you're fighting on every single event that Rage in the Cage throws.
Yeah. It was pretty awesome.
You beat Michael Chavez.
Yeah, I think I punched him in the stomach. He was terrible. I think I just threw that guy down on the ground and like punched him in the stomach one time, and he was like done. It's like, okay.
So are like when you're getting these quick fights, are you just like right away going back to him like, who's next? Put me on the next one, because I mean, these aren't really challenging for you. It's like, hey man, who you want me to fight next? I want to do this you're doing like every 3 weeks. Is that kind of game plan?
Yeah, whatever event they had, I just wanted to fight. So we fought it pretty much every weekend. That was awesome. And there was no boxing commission to deal with, so I didn't have to deal with anyone's bullshit. It was great.
All right, so I've got a theory.
It was really the best time. Like, I mean, the competition could have been a little better, but whatever.
I call it the Wild West days, man. The Wild West, anything went. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, imagine being able to do what you want without some sort of government approval. That's crazy talk. You can't
brother,
talk like that anymore.
I'm a straight libertarian. That's what I want. The smallest government possible.
Less government, more responsibility. I hear you, brother.
Exactly.
Hey, so here we go. I got a theory, and I kind of pitched this to Miguel. That's October 4th, 2000. Obviously, you're not a big fan of Roland, the promoter for Rage in the Cage.
At the time, I didn't know any better.
October,
he was a scumbag later.
Yeah, October 12th, you fight at the Absolute Fighter Challenge in Tempe. Was this like a rival promotion that came in, and you kind of wanted to help them out?
It was just some other fight. I think it was at the Cajun House, which is some bar in Scottsdale.
You fought Cedrick Marks.
Yeah, he was a lot better than like the rest of these turds. I ducked him he grabbed my wrist and I ducked him and I took him down and choked him out, but he was pretty good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he was 14-5.
I could just feel like, okay, this guy's a little stronger than everybody else, but I just had to use a different angle, like not just power through him like I could the other guys. So I had to be a little more technical with my transition.
Nice.
Who was the promoter for that event? Do you remember?
I couldn't tell you. The guy had a few more shows, but he wasn't like a staple in cage fighting society like Roland Sarria.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I mean, you got an opportunity for competition against Rage in the Cage. I figured that there'd be a couple of horses surrounding it because
there was
Roland,
a couple shows. Yeah, there was
a
a couple shows that would pop up. Besides, I think I fought in a couple shows around the Arizona area around that same time that weren't Rage in the Cage.
Yeah. Well, I figured with Roland having a gym, a lot of the people fighting on his shows may have kind of supported an outsider more than they would have him.
Yeah, I don't know. I think people just wanted to get drunk and watch the fights. I don't think they really cared.
Okay. All right. So your next one, Kerry Parsons.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
I want to ask a quick question because we're still in the early days, but Arizona, I mentioned a couple of people, like, what about like Arizona Combat Sports and like the Lally Brothers and stuff? Did you ever run across them or cross-train with them or spend any time there, or were they on your radar at all?
I was the first fighter to fight out of their gym in the UFC. I trained there for like 3 years.
Cool. What was your overall impression of them from the early days?
I mean, they helped me out a lot. They helped me get, a lot better than I was.
That's good.
Nice. Real quick, a question here. Like politically,
they ended up kicking me out of their gym too. So whatever.
I understand. I know sometimes,
it is what it is.
I've actually had a few beers with you at the Abu Dhabis and stuff, so I know
Yeah,
how sometimes.
I remember. that was before I got, less remembering.
So like politically there, like John McCain was a big one who was anti-UFC and this and that. Is there any blowback from fights going on out there in Arizona or not really?
Dominic Kane?
John McCain.
John McCain was a senator who called a human
cockfight.
fight.
I mean, we heard about that, but I mean, I didn't follow politics at the time, so I was kind of clueless.
Okay, but there was never any like people trying to shake that down or anything?
Nah, they were just, just making a political issue out of nothing so they could talk about something.
Okay.
They didn't really care one way or the other, honestly.
Okay.
I mean, they did care if they could get the boxing commission in on it, make some bread, right?
Exactly.
That was the con. So
regulation.
That was what they could, say. Oh, be afraid of people dying in a cage fight. Well, if we bring in the state government body, we'll make sure everyone's safe. Well, and then you can pay us a little bit of money, just a little bit.
Well, here's a funny thing about that. John McCain was at a boxing match where somebody died, yet he's talking about MMA, how brutal it is and how it's human kind. I'm like, hey, you were ringside when somebody died, brother. Is that not a problem? Oh, yeah, you got a bunch of stock in Budweiser now. Okay, I see now. It makes sense. You're fine. Never mind.
These people's hypocrisy is oozing with irony, right?
Knows no bounds.
Disgusting. It knows no bounds. There is no limits.
Okay, so you got a real interesting kind of like little footnote. November 8th, 2000, you fight in Ring in the Cage 22 against Jerry Parsons. You win via rear naked choke. But then 11 days later, you're fighting for Rage in the Cage in Tucson against like a stud from Brazil named Agnaldo Lima. And I say stud because it was kind of like the beginning days of understanding of MMA. And he was a Shaolin boxer from Brazil. So one of these TMA people brought him in as an instructor because, you know, Brazil was like the hot thing at the time. It was just a TMAer.
How do you find out so much information about these guys?
It's my job. I'm the MMA detective, bro. It's my job.
He's like a crazy ex-girlfriend just stalking you, brother.
It's true.
I mean, I didn't even know that about that dude. All I know is he was like 230 pounds and supposedly worked as a bouncer at some club down the street. And I remember before I fought, he was like doing these exercises in this real deep, like, I guess you would call it a Shaolin stance. And he was like, I cannot be beaten. I cannot be beaten. I will not be defeated. While he's warming up. And we were looking at him, we're like, whoa, we got this guy. And I just remember going out and, I mean, he went right down to the ground and got choked out. I don't know. He was like 230 too. He's a big guy.
How long was
another nice thing about no weight classes?
How long was he doing that for? That little cadence?
Oh, 15 minutes at least.
Oh my God.
That's why I remember it so well. Oh yeah, he was committed, bro. He believed every word. It wasn't like he was faking it or trying to work up his confidence, you know. Like sometimes you see guys yelling and screaming and you're like, oh yeah, I got this guy. Yeah, he's fucking scared shitless. No, he was about it. He believed the whole thing. He thought he was the Shaolin master.
Man. Now, like you said, Mike said, every match we're looking at here, you're winning by rear naked choke. I mean, is that just because he's just saying, I mean, are people not picking up on this yet? Hey, defend the neck. Nobody's really getting it yet. Huh?
People still haven't gotten it, man.
I love it.
Well, all right, so
I mean, I see it like now, man. I see these guys, they have the back and they're just like trying to punch the guy. I'm like, what are you doing? Just choke him out. This isn't rocket science, man. Just choke him out. No, we just gotta sit there and punch him because that's what we do now. We just punch people. Okay. Whatever. My guys will go for the choke.
Yeah. We also got to kind of take into context the time. Right around this period, you had natural born people from the United States, like second, third generation, walking into a jiu-jitsu gym, and within 3 months they speak like pidgin English because they're having difficulty with the language because they're pretending that they have like some Brazilian effect on them. And
trust me.
I mean, it was kind of rampant at that time. And when I saw that guy on your record, I'm like, and I really, dude, I spent about 30 minutes trying to figure that situation out. Yeah, he was from a TMA gym. And well, we got our Brazilian.
If you could figure out why he was so adamant about yelling that shit before the fight, that would be pretty sweet.
Yeah. So your next fight, this is actually a very interesting one as well. You fight for Cajun Fights, December 2nd, 2000. Mo Doom, who came onto the scene. He was 2-0 at the time, and obviously you've built your record up. The thing with Mo Doom is he comes in, gets a win over Shannon Rich in his first fight, who at that time Shannon was actually doing real fights. And he also has got a win over Joe Daddy Stevenson.
Whoa, you're kidding me.
No. His third fight's against Drew Fickett.
Wow. That's interesting.
You want to walk us through
good?
it?
Let me guess. Rear naked choke?
Yes. Maurice Wilson.
Maurice Wilson. God, that name sounds familiar.
I thought you said it's Mo Doom.
Mo Doom, bro. That's his nickname. Come on, man.
Mo Doom was his nickname.
Okay.
Which was this one in Tucson or in Phoenix?
It said Cajun fights. I couldn't get much information on it.
Oh, okay. That was the one I was thinking. That's the one I was thinking where the guy was a little better, I think.
Okay.
And I hit a duck under and choked him out.
Okay.
Yeah, you got another rear naked choke, and like it's kind of like, you know, Babe Ruth calling the home run shot. Like you're getting that same move over and over, and people aren't figuring it out. And now that's December 2nd, 2000. I'm
all
assuming
you have to do is take the guy down and get behind him. I mean, I think hitting a home run is definitely a lot more impressive than choking someone out.
At this point, you've only fought for 8 months in the year of 2000, because your first fight in the year 2000 was in April.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you're 10-0. So like us armchair guys, just in the year 2000, us armchair guys are going, man, dude's got to take a break. Hell of a year. I mean, that's savage numbers. And you take a fight 4 days later against Kimo Stant, again in Rage in a Cage, just to get one more in.
Stant. Yeah. Kicked him in the face, and then I choked him out.
You could have won by probably knockout. Like, no, I got a streak going here. I got to keep these chokes going.
Well, if you hurt someone, I mean, why not just choke them out? I've seen guys, you know, they get rocked and you try to like finish them, and it's great if you can finish them, but I mean, if they're giving you the choke, I mean, you might as well just choke them, make it easy on them.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, what's the mindset there, taking a fight 4 days apart? Just still kind of easy going.
Same promotion.
It was there.
Yeah.
It was there.
Yeah. No injuries. Are you fighting banged up a little bit, or are you really skating through here?
No. Yeah. I'm completely healthy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it keeps you out of trouble. I mean, it's, you know where you're at on the weekends.
Because the thing about it,
I mean, it gives me something to do.
The thing about it at this point, though, he's starting to come on the national radar. You know, I know he's
for sure.
You know, fighting down there, and stuff. But that's a hell of a year he had, and at least Roland Sarria did the job of, you know, putting results in Full Contact Fighter and on the internet and stuff like that.
He definitely got us a little recognition, so it wasn't bad.
So are you feel like you're taking it a little bit more serious now, and like, hey, this is a real thing, or is it still just going out and having fun?
Just having fun.
Okay.
All right. On a side note, which is really interesting. So Drew in 8 months is 11-0 in the year 2000.
Wow.
Rage in the Cage does 11 events over a 3-month period.
Jeez.
I just like, there's no way he's not divorced.
They used to have, I don't even know if the guy was married at the time, but they used to have, man, I mean, there was events where they would have fights till like 2 a.m. because there was like 27 people on the card.
Man,
you know, he just had guys come sign up and you fight. I mean, he took me a little more seriously because he had to find me like someone that wasn't like, you know, a janitor completely, like only a part-time janitor. But you know, he had a lot of fighters because
he had a lot of janitors too.
I don't think there was any boxing yet.
So during this period of time, you fought on a couple events that weren't his. So my belief, and I might be wrong on this, is that on December, that was your last fight, but your next fight's in March. So you took a little period off, probably a normal period. It's, you know, for everybody else. But
well, you have to understand also, you have to understand, Mike, like I was just taking people down and choking them out. So it wasn't like I was sitting there getting punched in the face or anything.
But I think he was mad at you. And the reason is,
Roland, yeah, probably.
Rage in the Cage 34, he puts you up against Edwin Deweese, and you lose a split decision at 170 pounds.
Yeah, I didn't lose. That was bullshit. He was like, first of all, he was like 220, but I don't care. And second of all, I didn't lose that fight.
Now, was you think it was Edwin their boy? Is that what it was?
I have no idea. I mean, that was when they first started doing a box commission. So I don't think, I mean, the boxing commission has judges, and I think they were impartial, honestly. I don't think they knew what they were watching.
I
right?
see. I get it.
I don't think they understood what they were watching.
So
personally,
I
beat him by less the second time, and the judges gave me a unanimous decision. And besides that, after the fight, after that cooled down, I saw the judges again a couple more fights later, whatever. They're like, we watched that fight again, and we really screwed that up.
Really?
Like whatever.
It's a huge fight.
It was pretty gay because it was like my first loss, technically.
Yeah.
But I still didn't consider it a loss. Like, whatever. They can put that on my record, but.
How'd the fight go? Did you take him down a lot? Did he take you down? How'd it go?
Yeah, I took him down a lot. I punched him in the face a lot. I had more position than him. He had a guillotine on me, so like for a minute. And I remember I had I was standing up, so he had jumped with the guillotine, and he was like 220 pounds.
Oh man!
And I was like walking around at 165 at the time, so it was a lot of weight to hold up. So I just held him up and fought through the choke, and that was like the only thing you could say, like, oh, maybe an almost submission.
Yeah.
But other than that, like, it was just total domination by wrestling, by ground.
Yeah.
Little striking there was. It was striking for me to enter and take him down.
Now, it probably wasn't even 3 5-minute rounds back then. Was it like 1 10-minute? I mean, how was the round? I didn't usually do rounds.
I think it might have been 3 3-minute rounds.
Yeah, okay. That's what it's listed here.
May have been. Yeah, may have been 3 3s.
So you're 12-0 at that fight. Edwin Deweese was 18-5. The main event was Joe Riggs versus Homer Moore, which is a huge fight as well.
Yeah, I think Homer just took him down. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, outside of Joe's weight class as well. Did you and Edwin eventually train together?
Not really. No, he was always over at Raising the Cage, like training facility.
Yeah.
But I saw him a lot. I mean, I always saw him at the events. He was cool enough. I think he works in the mines now.
Really?
Okay. So that's March. It's your first loss. You're slowing down a little bit on the trek because you know what? Hold up. I apologize. December 2000 was your fight against Kimo Stant, December 6th. You took an entire year and certain months off, and then your first fight back is Edwin Deweese, March 15, 2002.
Yeah, I think that's when my motorcycle accident was.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's when it was, because I remember now because I remember coming back with a lot more piss and vinegar after I was hurt. The gift of injury,
Yeah, for sure.
Would you still go to the events?
What happened to me recently? No, I would just stay in Tucson and train because I was on crutches. So,
okay.
I mean, train and do what I could, right? Like lift and stuff, but there wasn't a lot I could do for quite some time.
But you didn't like go and watch the fights or anything?
I may have, but
I mean, teammates fighting or anything?
I mean, I didn't really have any like teammates other than maybe Waleed at the time.
Wow.
Still weren't training?
Huh?
You still were training with like a big team at this point?
Not a big team. There was a gym called the Ultima, Charles Allen in Tucson, and they were like kind of like the first like traditional Brazilian jiu-jitsu gym. We didn't have any guys doing the fake Brazilian accent, but they were showing like actual Brazilian jiu-jitsu moves, which I'd never been much of like being on my back, right? So when I got hurt, I put the gi on and I trained the whole time on my back. And I trained the guard, and I had to because I couldn't do anything else. So, and that's actually how I met Gustavo Dantas, was through the Ultima, because he had a seminar there. So I ended up training with Gustavo Dantas, who was a real good like practical application sports jiu-jitsu guy. I think he won nationals in Brazil. They try to say it's worlds, but it's really just nationals. And at that time anyway. And then he did jiu-jitsu for Arizona Combat Sports with the Lallies.
Yeah, he's freaky, kind of tall, long, lanky. I don't know how to describe him.
Real good butterfly guard. You know, a lot of my butterfly stuff. That's where I got good at it.
I would even say once you figured your back, like doing jiu-jitsu from your back, most of your rear naked chokes started coming from that position. It was actually almost like easier for you to get that position.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I'd say so.
So go ahead, Miguel.
I was just gonna notice he gave props to Marcelo Garcia as the best of all time, and that really is what Marcelo specialized at, is always take the back, always from no matter what position. So it's very interesting that that you'd mastered it early in your career, sort of on your own, on instinct as well.
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely trying to emulate what he was doing because it just made sense to me. And back then I had like his teaching videos on VHS, so, or maybe it was CD or whatever, but we didn't have like nowadays, these guys, they have, and I use, there's a martial arts channel called The Modern Martial Artist by David Christian. I don't know if you guys have ever checked out that channel. It covers all kinds of fight techniques with specific fighters and really breaks it down and gets like linear and goes over the alignment and the angles. And like, it's amazing. It's really helped my skill fighting wise. Anyway, these guys now, I mean, they can like, oh, I'm not good in this position. They can look up 1,000 videos on YouTube, right, as reference. I mean, back then, all I had was a VHS cassette of Marcelo Garcia. So these guys don't understand like what it's like not to be able to look up on the internet the reference to like some of these techniques. And that's amazing. And a lot of the guys, they don't even use it. They don't even realize. Like I help with a wrestling team, Sunnyside High School wrestling team down in Tucson, and I don't think they really watch the techniques for the most part, like some of us older guys that appreciate the reference of the internet and the things that you have available at your fingertips, such as like techniques or looking up an inside trip that some Russian in Kazakhstan does or whatever, like, I don't know. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
The information that's available fight wise and fight technique wise.
And those instructionals weren't cheap.
No, they're like $100.
Yeah. 150,
and
250.
I think you had to buy all of them.
Yeah, instead of the 6,
Yeah. So you take your first loss, obviously not a good experience for anybody. And generally speaking, people like a softer bounce back fight. And Drew, May 3rd, 2002, fights an 8-1 John Lansing and beats him by armbar.
RTC guy. One of Edwin's like main training guys. Yeah. Remember he had highlights in his hair.
Do you think it was kind of like almost like an unfair advantage or not a level playing field because the promoter also had his own gym, whose fighters also fought on his own show, and he's lining you up against them?
Oh yeah, I mean, he was definitely trying to set. I mean, I didn't care who I was going to fight. I was going to beat whoever I came up against. But like some of the guys that I would train with, he would definitely try to set them up. I mean, there was always this funny thing going on where like everybody in the red corner was supposed to lose. Like me and Waleed were in the red corner the night that we first fought in Rage in the Cage, and he fought an Edwin type DeWeese guy from RITC Training Center, and he was obviously supposed to lose, but we both of us won. I think we were the only winners out of the red corner. So like we started to realize like, hey, he'd put all his guys over in the blue corner and he try to pick these guys for his guys. But I mean, it happens. He's a promoter, he owns his own gym. There's no boxing commission. What the hell do you want, right? Nothing. Just want to compete.
You know what though? There's nothing better than being the guy who's supposed to lose and winning. You know what I mean? That's a good.
Yeah.
You know what's rough though? Being a guy that's supposed to lose and you're in your own hometown. Like You're supposed to travel to have that feeling.
True.
Yeah, this is true.
So you have a canceled
more of the
bout.
guys there, you know.
Yeah.
You've got a canceled bout against Scott Morris, and you take 5 months off where from what I understand, John Lansing requested a rematch because you armbarred him in the first round. And it's an interesting card. Do you want to walk us through the second Lansing rematch, and I'll get to the card?
Yeah, I was working at some bar as a bouncer in Scottsdale at the time, and they wanted to make me like the main event, but I was like, no, I got to work. So can you guys let me fight first? So they were like, yeah, you can fight first. I'm like, cool. Well, I'm gonna fight first then. And I was training with the Lallies at the time, working on my kickboxing. So the second fight, I just worked on my kickboxing and didn't try to choke him.
Huh. So on that card, the main event,
I think I won by decision, right?
You did. You won by decision. Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to kickbox with
him. The main event that night, it's like I had mentioned my theory about Edwin Dewey's, and this kind of is where I got it from. Todd Medina beats Edwin Dewey's and then they overturned the decision due to an early stoppage by the referee.
Hold on, what?
It's got promoter written all over it.
What's that mean? An early stoppage?
So Medina is putting it on him. The ref stops it, and they declare that the ref made a mistake.
Yeah, so it's a no contest.
Okay.
Is that
so then they give it to then they give it to Edwin?
No, they just made it a no contest.
I thought you said they gave it to him. I was like, how's that work?
So it was a no contest.
It was a no contest.
Okay.
I was gonna say
that's got to be Roland's doing, right?
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
Yeah.
Because Dewey's is probably a ticket buy. Dewey's is for sure a ticket seller. He lined him up against you. He gets a controversial win versus yourself, and then like one fight later, you know, he's got a no contest that's overturned due to an accidental referee stoppage. So I just kind of figured he was kind of doing you in. Joe Riggs on that card also got a win over Herb Dean.
Herb Dean, the rap.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember that.
I think Joe knocked his two front teeth out at the same time. So
did you ever fight Joe, Chris?
Yeah, I fought him in the UFC actually. I felt like things were going pretty good. I'm on top of him and I'm passing guard, and he threw an up elbow from the bottom and cut me open. Won by
with the reverse triangle thing on your head and arm, right?
No, that was a different fight. But I'm passing guard, and he threw an elbow from the bottom and cut me open and beat me by a cut. But no, I was just passing. The reverse triangle was something else.
The cut.
Yeah, man, I was pissed. I remember at one point, like I'm in there and you know, it's a bad cut, it's bleeding bad, and they got pressure on it and they're doing this. And after about a minute, I go, I think I can keep going. And John McCarthy looked at me real crazy, goes, the fight's over. And I looked around and like the ring card girls are in, the doctor, they're about to announce it. I didn't even know the fight. Okay, we're done.
Well, no shame in that one. He was at that time, he was like a super freak athlete, man.
Oh, he could hit, man. I mean, he was strong as an ox. He
came down from heavyweight.
I know. I remember
he was like 240.
I never tried to take anybody down, and at that he like came and started underhooking me, and I tossed him in the headlock, and I got on top. But I remember, like I came and trained there with him for like 2 weeks after that one time, and I don't think I took him down once. That dude is legit in the gym, man. He's tough to deal with. He's
real good in the gym, yeah.
Very tough, yeah.
Yeah, he came down from heavyweight and maintained his power. That's frightening. That's frightening. So you go from John Lansing, you take an additional 5 months off, and what's interesting about this card is actually who fought on the other card. Shaun Beckett, you win by rear naked choke in the second round.
Oh yeah, Shaun Beckett was legit.
Yeah,
that dude was like the most legit guy I fought up to that point, for sure.
Really?
Oh yeah. He was a Nick Diaz guy.
Yep.
Yeah, he was real good boxing. He was like one of those like wiry guys, really wiry guys, like kind of skinny, but like surprisingly strong for his frame. And he could hit. He hit hard. I don't know if I've ever been hit harder by anyone than that guy. Because we were trading blows, and I felt like I was getting the better of him a little bit on my feet, but then he hit me with something, and I went back to my corner in the first round, and I was like, to Trevor, because there's brothers, but Todd was in Vegas at the time. Trevor was like, yo, you all right? I'm like, dude, my fucking eye hurts. Like that, like you know what I mean? Like in the nasal, like I'd never felt something like that before. I'm like, man, it really hurts. I've never felt pain in a fight before. Like,
yeah.
So I went out there, I'm like, fuck this. And I took him down, choked him out.
You know, what's interesting is Jamie Varner.
Stand up and get better.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, get all around.
Yeah.
So Jamie Varner's on the undercard, and his record climbs to 2-1.
He went against Dave Klein that night, right? My buddy Dave Klein. Yeah, Dave, Dirty Dave. That dude's a federal agent now.
Really?
Yeah, Dave Klein's awesome. He's great.
Hey, so I got a question for you. You said
you guys would actually love talking with that dude about all this stuff. He could really stir the pot. But yeah, Dave Klein beat him the whole fight. He gets freaking triangle choked. Because we weren't like, I was more boys with Dave then because Dave trained with us. Jamie was from Phoenix at the time. So like we were, rooting for Dave because he basically trained out of our gym. But he freaking beat Jamie the whole fight. I mean, it's just a bunch of wrestling matches, right? Like no one like knew how to strike, Like there was like very few guys in that era that like were, decent strikers like Chris and Joe. Like most of the guys were wrestlers. So it was a wrestling match and Dave was winning, but he got triangle choked the last like 30 seconds.
Were you surprised that Jamie just didn't take to MMA as fast as he should have? Because he was 2-1 at this point.
What do you mean take to
Well,
MMA?
here he was trouble with Dave, and he had dropped one prior to that. I think he dropped his first fight.
I don't think he was really ever into it, man. I don't think he was like really into it,
Wow.
It was more of like
you're not the first person to say that.
More of like a status thing for him. More of like I don't want to get into his family, but we'll just say maybe some trouble with his family growing up. So he had something to prove. Nothing wrong with that. I just don't think he came from the place where I came from, where it was like, I just love to compete. I don't even care what happens. Like, I just want to compete. And actually, that's a funny story because I started training with Jamie when I moved up to Phoenix. I was training with Gustavo Dantas and Arizona Combat Academy. And I went on this killer spree that I think ended up getting the UFC's attention. But one of the fights was against Kenny Florian. And that fight wasn't even my fight. That was Jamie Varner's fight. And he got in a fight with his girlfriend and called off the fight because they were having a little tiff. And so I didn't even know who the guy was, right? Whatever. So I took the fight and yeah, it helped out my career a lot.
Yeah. I got a question for you. Taking still on that same night with Dave, you said you fought a Nick Diaz student that was legit.
Yeah.
Was Nick there? Was because that
Randy Spence
209
was.
No, I don't think Nick was there till the second time I fought Shaun Beckett in a 4-man tournament all in one night.
I wonder how that goes because those guys, with their 209 attitude and stuff, and I know, you're not a guy who's going to let people, punk you, disrespect you or anything like that backstage or anything like that. So we'll get to that, I guess, when Mike takes us there. just see if there was any problems with them. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never had any problems. I mean, I don't know. I just don't think I'm one of those guys like that people talk shit to.
Okay.
Because I'm also like I'm like respectful too, right? Like I'm not like, and I think people realize that I don't care about that. Like, I don't know. They're not gonna get a rise out of me, right? Like, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, the Diaz. I feel like if you're a real fighter and you like don't go there and talk like that and just make it out to be something it's not, and you're like yeah, they're gonna be cool with you even if you win, I think. But if you go out there and you're, I'm doing this, and you're bragging, and you're if you're kind of phony, oh, they're gonna hate you, man. They're gonna fight you then. But I mean, I think if you're good about it,
I mean, I think maybe because I kind of share the same attitude that they have deep down, probably.
Yeah. No, Drew's everything but phony. That's not it at all. But like, and you remember in the Abu Dhabis, you pissed a couple of the Brazilians off.
Yeah, it wasn't me. That was Santino.
Okay, I got you. That's cool. We'll get to that. I'm jumping ahead, Mike. I'm
right.
sorry.
Yeah, no, Drew, your career is absolutely fascinating. Like when you kind of dissect it. And at this point, so that's July 7th, 2000, or June 7th, 2003, you then make the trek to Washington. I think you start living up there because you fight on the Ultimate Cage Fighting Championship against Landon Showalter.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't living in Washington.
You weren't, because you had a couple fights up there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Trevor Lally was from Washington.
Connection.
So he got me a fight up there in some casino.
Yeah,
I lost to some guy. I lost to some guy I should not have lost to, but it pays off later, and we'll get to that. I'm gonna use the restroom quick, guys. Excuse me.
You want a little trivia on this fight, Mike?
Go ahead.
Sure.
I was the matchmaker.
No way.
Yeah, I was.
That's why I love Miguel.
I'm looking at it was what I was working with Hume on a couple of his shows, and these were like mainly kickboxing shows. There's only one other MMA fight that day, and it's Charlie Pearson against Edson Deniz, who's one of Lambert's guys, and Edson won the hook and shoot belt or AFC belt from Charlie that day. So
well, how did you decide to match? Obviously, Drew Fickett. Did you just want to get a peek at him? Because I mean, you were here. You were kind of like a nosy guy. You wanted to get a little peek in different pockets of the United States as well as Europe. Was just kind of like your opportunity to get a firsthand glance of Drew Fickett.
Look, Landon, the guy he fought, is from the Dennis Hallman, Matt Hume school, and he was a guy that they were going to be looking to feature. Like, I think later on his career became kind of like a mini Pat Healy, where he took some losses and stuff. But he's a tough out for anybody. And I think that Drew was, again, associated with Trevor, a known quantity, but they wanted to test him. I don't remember details of the fight. Maybe Drew could take us through there.
You know what? Showalter beat him with a triangle choke 3 minutes into the first round.
Drew, we were just, it's funny. I was actually the matchmaker for this fight.
Yeah, I heard you. It's crazy.
Okay, cool. So take us through what happened there, because I do think, and if I know myself, and I tried to, like, I'm being told by the local guy, hey, I want to feature Landon Showalter. He's one of our guys, and they told me, hey, let's match him up pretty good, and I overmatched him tough because I like to get guys like that beat. I did that a couple of times to Dan, a couple of times to Matt, a couple of times. So I don't think I don't think Drew was brought in here to lose
as a B-side.
So
no,
what
yeah,
happened? I mean, what do you remember? Because I don't remember much more than the business end.
I remember taking the dude down, and everything was fine. I passed him, I mounted him, I armbarred him, and now I know better than when you're a mount to go to an armbar and go to your back ever.
Yeah.
Right? If you're mounted, you armbar that fucker and you stay on top. Stay on top. Even if it means losing the armbar, then you take their back. You never go mount like old school Gracie Jiu-Jitsu roll to your back. But
hey, maybe if there's 5 seconds left, So.
Yeah, exactly. Like Dennis Hallman, Jens Pulver. But
July of 2003, so it's eras ago.
Yeah. So anyway, I got an armbar, and man, I thought I had it, and he ended up getting on top and standing up. And there's actually a beautiful photograph of me armbarring this dude, and it's a great photograph. I think it was in that Fighter magazine, the newspaper one.
Mm-hmm.
Full Contact Fighter.
Full Contact,
yeah, that thing. But it was a beautiful armbar. Anyway, he got fucking out, and I don't know. I was like never been in that situation where I didn't submit the guy with something like that, and it kind of freaked me out. It made me real anxious, and I got up and I took him down, and he caught me in a triangle, and yeah, he submitted me. It's crazy.
Yeah, you're not used to losing, you know. You just
yeah, it was kind of weird.
Hey,
But,
I mean,
he beat me. He definitely beat me.
Was that your first plane ride to a fight?
Was that before Carlo Prater or after Carlo?
It was before.
Yeah, that was my first flight to a fight.
That might play into it too. It's a pretty important benchmark. You know, your first loss, your first plane ride. I mean, those are
it was kind of the same feeling, like kind of the same kind of butterfly feeling that I'd never had before, that when I fought in the UFC the first time. It was kind of that, like, man, this is just weird. Like, it doesn't this doesn't feel like I'm wrestling in the high school gym, right? It's like, fuck. So,
well, those guys up in the like the Washington area, they do a lot of scouting. Like, and they have no shame about it.
Hallman and Benji were at that fight because they were going to match me up with Dennis Hallman in King of the Cage. And actually, that fight really helped me beat Dennis because he saw that fight. And he's like, well, this guy sucks. Because Landon was not a good ground guy, right? He was not a good ground guy. So he didn't see, you know, he didn't see me lose the armbar and then get caught in the triangle. He saw me get submitted by some guy who's not known for good ground.
Okay.
And Dennis is an absolute beast, who's a very good friend of mine who I ended up training with later on. But he's like, well, I'm not going to take this fight seriously. And he didn't. And I did take that fight very seriously. So it helped out. It paid dividends down the road, even though I lost that fight. It really helped me beat Dennis.
Which is huge.
You were setting him up.
Huge.
Yeah, it was a big fight. I was setting him up.
Playing the long game.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that was Drew's very next fight. And at the time, Drew's 16-3, Dennis Hallman's 32-7-1 with a pair of wins over Matt Hughes. And
that was the next fight.
Oh, right. So
there you go.
Yeah, so you beat Dennis by split decision.
I was supposed to fight Shannon Rich. The following weekend, and they wouldn't let me because now there's a boxing commission, and they won't let you. They won't let you fight week to week. You got to rest your body at least 14 days or something. It was weak. Anyway, yeah, Dennis Hallman. I learned how to really, really train with like pure, unadulterated, organized, disciplined training, like hyper focus. The kind of training I do when I win fights.
For that fight, for the Dennis Hallman fight, is that when you
for that fight? And that's where I learned my treadmill sprint workout that I shared with a lot of people, including Dominic Cruz, who does it religiously to this day.
What is it? Well,
it's a real short. I don't care. I give it. I don't care. Anyone who wants to know it, call me up. I doubt you'll want to do it more than once. It's basically 6 intervals at a 15% incline, and we use a band or a pulley system for a spotting system, right? And at the 15% incline, you put it on a speed that's so fast that the first 15-minute sprint, you can barely get through it. I mean, when I do it now, it's 8.0 is good for me, but I'm 40 years old now.
Yeah.
I got a girl who just took a bronze medal in the world championships wrestling, and she does it at 10.0 miles per hour.
Man,
which is tough. Amazing because the senior high school kids, some of the high school kids that now have wrestling scholarships at some big time universities, they can't do it at 10.0 miles per hour.
Wow. I bet.
So for a 14-year-old girl to do it at 10.0 miles per hour,
special.
She's a beast. She's special.
I used to do something similar, training for fights. I go to this place called Acceleration, Indiana, and they would hook you up on treadmills. And sometimes, it would go up to like 30-degree incline, 25. They changed it around, I was only doing like, you do like a 15-second sprint, and then you get off and then you know, like you're talking for a few seconds and going up. I mean, sometimes I remember doing like the 35-degree, you're only doing like 6-second bursts, but I hated that, man. I would do that in the morning and then I'd go into the gym at night. But I mean,
yeah, I mean, that kind of anaerobic work it's more scary than a fight. I mean, that kind of thing. And you have to like dedicate, or like the workout's only like 20 minutes with warm up and cool down.
Yeah.
But you have to dedicate a whole block of training time for that 20-minute workout.
You're wiped out.
You're done. You're done. So,
well, and I remember too, they would have, sometimes they would have something like you talked about. They'd have like the big long elastic bands on my back, and they're pulling me to do. They did that sometimes
pulling
too.
You back, pulling you back the other way to make it harder.
It was like more resistance, you know. Sometimes I was like, this sucks,
not to
man.
help you.
No. And then they had me like throwing punches and kicks with those bands on, like they have a contraption on my arms and legs, so it just resistance. But I remember that it was nightmares, man. I hated it, but I kept going.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead.
All right, so let me just we had Dennis Hallman on as one of our first few interviews.
He's the guy to have.
He is. And he had mentioned that, like, during your fight with him, he's like, Drew's a super cool guy, really social. And he's like, we had some of our teammates out drinking with him, and they would keep Drew out partying in order to kind of make sure he wasn't 100% for the fight.
Yeah, guy sent some girl to my room, man.
That's at least nice.
What I mean,
wow.
Guy sent some girl to my room. I didn't let her in. I'm like, get out of here.
This has got police written all over it.
But that's how they roll. That's how they roll in Washington, man. That's just how they roll in Washington. Well, you know, Miguel.
Yeah, you know,
everyone's very friendly.
They'll look for an edge.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So tell us about the fight. How'd that fight go down? I've never seen it.
Man, I was motivated. I was hungry. I remember he came out. He threw a head kick. I blocked it. He grabbed me in the front headlock, kneed me in the head, and I was just like, almost like too much respect for his guillotine, right? Because he had choked out Matt Hughes with that. He was known for like his guillotine was amazing. So I pulled guard. He just fell down right away. He was on top. And then I don't even know how I did this, but there was an open, you know, like traditional gi jiu-jitsu where you grab the sleeves and you put your like feet on hips and like behind knees and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, without grabbing his wrists, I hooked his knees and his legs with like a totally open guard and swept him to his back without any contact with my hands. It was
That's weird.
Crazy. It was like I just caught him like
balance was right.
I still watch it to this day and it just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, it makes sense. You can see like it's just perfect timing and balance, but like there's no way you would be able to like replicate that, right? It's just one of those things. So then I got on top and like I think he realized after I swept him with that, he was like probably like, oh shit, like oh shit. You know, like when you fight like the good Brazilian jiu-jitsu guys from Brazil, right? Like they get a hold of you and you're like, fuck, this guy's good on the ground.
Yeah.
Right. So it was one of those. But I just got on top and you know, some ground and pound, but nothing like that, you know, would win any trophies or anything.
Now
I just kept letting them up. I kept letting them up and taking them down. I would take them down and then like let them up. And just I kept taking them down and letting them up. I remember at the end of the first round, I threw him with a real pretty over-under hip toss and got some real good punches right before the bell rang. So he definitely won the first round. And then the second round was more of the same. I think in the second round, I ended up getting mount with a really nice like pressure pass from half guard. And I was just, again, like, I probably could have done something in that position from out, but I was so like wary of ankle locks and heel hooks. So I was just like overly cautious and respectful of the guy's submissions, right? So as soon as he tried to like bump my hips at all, I just bailed on the mount and just, stayed on top. I don't know. I mean, he's amazing on the ground. So he obviously ended up getting up. I just took him down a lot. And then the last round, more of the same, punch, strike, takedowns. I just kept crowding him. So he didn't have a chance to strike because it was just me coming forward, hitting, like striking on the way forward. So you had no way to strike with me. And it's hard to win a fight on your back.
For sure.
The last like 30 seconds, I remember like, my corner yelling, "You got 30 seconds, Drew. You got this. You just got to finish the fight." I'm like, hell yeah. And I took him down and he fucking arm bars me, man. And it's like tight as fuck. And they're like 10. I hear that. I'm like, fuck it. And he fucking popped. He broke my arm, but I didn't tap. And I fucking won the fight. I jumped up. I didn't feel my arm. I was like, fuck yeah, like I won the goddamn Olympics. I mean, that was an exciting win for me.
Big win.
I had a lot of respect for Dennis, and I thought he was a pretty cool guy afterwards, getting to know him, living with him for a while. Yeah. That was one of the ones where you look back and you're like, yeah, that fight is cool. That's why fighting is cool.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I was surprised that, I mean, he's such a decorated wrestler. I was surprised at just, how easy you got those takedowns.
I think something happened in the video here. Okay.
Yeah, it's okay. You're good. I think you were getting another phone call.
Yeah, I mean, I was training with, ASU's wrestling team. I was trying to wrestle for ASU at the time, but I had some trouble with the law. So that kind of made things fall short for me as far as college wrestling goes.
Hey, I mean, with the law, was it any kind of good, cool stories, bank robbery, anything? Could you elaborate on or not really?
Yeah, so like I used to work at Papa John's Pizzeria. Me and my buddy James Terry, we both used to work there. Like he's a James Terry, James the Intensity Terry. He was Kung Lee's main training partner for like a decade. Yeah, really good fighter. He still fights at Bellator. Anyway, we were hanging out. We were at some Rage in the Cage. Me, Joey Rivera. Who else was there? Dave Klein was there. You can ask Dave. He knows. So we were wasted, and we get back to my apartment, and I call Papa John's, and we used to use this free pizza coupon code to get free pizza, and it worked every time. I didn't even work there anymore, but every time I called, they give me a free pizza because I kept using this code. Well, this guy was a real smart ass, and he retorted back to me, "Well, what do you have, a free pizza coupon for the whole world?" And we got into it. I'm like, "Yeah, you still at the shop?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm here. What are you going to do about it?" I'm like, "I'll be right there, motherfucker." And so my girlfriend at the time is trying to stop me. And I drive down there in the truck I had right in Tempe. And I park the truck. I go in there and I'm looking for the guy. They're like, "He's out." I'm like, "Well, fuck that guy. Fuck you." And I take the computer, I smashed the computer on the floor. I ended up breaking the door because they had it locked. So I broke the door down. I get back in my truck and the fucking guy comes back on a delivery and then he's fucking chasing me around the parking lot and I'm in my fucking truck. He parks in front of the fucking Papa John's and I'm behind him as he was chasing me, but now I'm behind him. So I take my truck and I just fucking throttle it. I fucking ran his fucking car through the fucking Papa John's fucking storefront. And then I'm like, "Oh, fuck."
This is reasonable so far.
Yeah.
The guy was,
wait, hold totally up. Reasonable.
Joe, the guy was mouthing off to you on the phone. These internet kids, they got to understand sometimes you can get touched.
Exactly. Go learn today.
I do want to point out that free pizza went to a very expensive pizza in a hurry, huh?
Yeah, it was very expensive.
So how does this end? This is fantastic.
I'm like, fuck. So I get over a curb, and over the curb, I end up popping a tire. and I can already hear freaking police sirens, right?
Turn that car off. Throw the keys away.
And I'm like, fuck. So I just turn around back in the parking lot.
Run.
Dude, I pull back around in the shopping mall, and I just pull the keys out. Cops pull up. I just get out, hands on my head already, like, okay, you got me. And they charged me with freaking ag assault with a deadly weapon. I'm like, fuck. So I had to deal with that bullshit for a while.
Yeah. All right.
But
that's a cool story, though.
It's not really your fault. If you really think about it, the kid,
it's pretty much my fault. Man,
he was antagonizing.
Talk about anger issues, man. Come on. That's completely my fault. Total.
That's an awesome story, though, dude. I love it.
It's an awesome story.
I don't think so.
It was worth it.
No, I'm sure it's not, but it's still cool.
That probation that I was on that ended up getting me violated was the reason they took Kenny Florian for the first Ultimate Fighter, because I was supposed to be in Kenny Florian's spot.
Oh no!
But I was in fucking jail at the time on a domestic violence, like criminal damage thing that wasn't even really domestic violence. But yeah, man, once you get snake bit by law, you gotta be careful.
Once you're in the system, it's like it's hard to get out.
It's hard to get out of the system.
Yeah,
I agree.
You gotta be careful.
I agree.
Man.
All right, so Drew, we're in the middle of an investigation in regards to an event that took place in Nevada that you were supposed to be on, and it got canceled. So in essence, Shooto USA Las Vegas, November 14, 2003.
Yeah.
They've got 12 canceled bouts, one of which was yours, and 4 of which they had an event with 4 fights, and Dana White was in attendance, and it was almost as if the UFC was allowing the commission to do their dirty work, and Shooto refused to cancel the event.
I don't know what happened with the event per se, but I do know that I was supposed to fight some guy who's supposed to be pretty good from Japan.
Adam Lin.
Who was it?
I think it was Adam Lin. I don't have it in front of me.
He says from Japan.
Is that the same Shooto fight? No, the guy had a real weird name, like a name that like some guy that survived like the Hiroshima bombing would have.
Not Mishima. Was it Mishima?
Some guy. No.
Because his first name is Dakan Jonosuke.
I don't know. I remember seeing the guy's face, and the guy looked like a space alien.
So why?
But he was
what
good.
did they tell
he was supposed to be real good.
Was that your bout got canceled, and were you in Vegas when it got canceled?
I mean, I don't know. I got fights canceled on me so much. That was time to drink, dude. I was like, whatever. I was training to fight Diego Sanchez in King of the Cage, right? And they called me the day of weigh-ins because I was in Tucson. I was going to get on a plane, fly to Albuquerque, weigh in. And I used to cut like so much fucking weight, dude. Because I was like beefy. I was like all about lifting weights, which is retarded. You don't want to lift weights. But I was ready. I was ready to go. And then they call me up. Oh, Diego, he's not fighting. I'm like, okay, well, time to drink. I find out he's fighting some bum the next night. And not me. So that was lame. But I had fights canceled on me so many times. Not as bad as this last run I've had. And then the fake COVID thing. But man, you just get used to it as a fighter. If you're not fighting in like a decent, that was the cool thing about UFC is like, you didn't get to fight as much unless you're, I guess, you're Chris or Cowboy. They got to fight all the time. It's great. But that's the one thing I don't really understand is like these guys are like pro fighters. And I mean, if they're like champs, then okay, they fight once a year or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, dude, like, isn't that kind of lame? Like, you're fighting in this event against really good competition and you're only getting to compete like 2 or 3 times a year. That's gay. Like that sucks. Right. And I know Ed West, I trained with Ed West. He's a Bellator guy. He took second in the tournament. He got to the point where he had to leave Bellator because they wouldn't put him on a card for like a year.
Yeah.
It's like you're signed contractually to these businesses, but they don't care about your love for the sport.
No.
They're just gonna fit you in where they want to fit you in. So I don't know what I was getting at, but whatever.
I'd always tell the man, as soon as I can get in there, let's do it. You know what I mean? And just stay ready. If something falls apart last minute, I'll be like, cool, I'll jump in there. Just throw me in.
I love 27 fight of the night bonuses. I'd want to fight every night too.
Exactly.
Fucking great.
Keep them coming, baby.
I love it. It makes my dreams come true. That's the fact that you did that. Took some money from the UFC.
Not
Mike,
enough.
I did
what I could.
Not enough. Yeah.
I think the point there was that with the Shooto cancellation was just one out of 100 cancellation. He doesn't remember details on it. So, pick it up.
Yeah, there was something going on there for sure. April 17, 2004, Rage on the River 4-man tournament. I can't believe what you did in this one. First opponent, Carlo Prater.
Yeah, I didn't know who that guy was, but he was good. Yeah, that guy was good. Did you ever fight Carlo, Chris?
I did not. Just paths never crossed. I figured they would have, but no. I've seen him fight several times, but for some reason or another, it never happened.
Oh, you know who he fought? He fought Carlos Condit. I think he beat Carlos Condit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think maybe he beat Carlos Condit. Yeah, it was. He was kind of weird with his hips. Like, I've been taking guys down most of the time. And I remember coming out there and I tried to double overhook salto throw. And that's a bad move for MMA that I learned, Yeah, because if you don't get it, like they're on top and mount, right?
Yeah.
So I tried to throw him with that. I remember at the beginning of the fight and he stuffed me with his hips. So I'm like, oh shit, like this guy's not going to his back. And he was on top for a lot of that round. And then I kept trying to take him down. He was out striking me in the second round. And then in the third round, like I was down, like I was losing. I was like, fuck, I'm gonna lose this fight. And there was like 15 seconds left. I'm like, well, I gotta do something. So I punched him in the face and I grabbed his neck and I pulled the guillotine. I literally choked him out right before the bell rang.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I was pretty excited.
I mean, you had a couple. I guess I saw one of your other fights, almost very similar fashion. You're losing a lot of it, and you against Koscheck and knocked him out and choked him right at the end, man. So you've done that a couple times.
One. Kurt Pellegrino. Yeah, there's been a few ones.
That's awesome.
You can submit a guy when you can submit a guy. You always have that Hail Mary chance, right?
Yep.
So this is a 4-man tournament. And Drew's first opponent is Carlo Prater.
That's a tough fight. Jeez.
According to Carlo, who we have interviewed already, he said, I won the fight. I won the fight. And the guy jumps for a guillotine. I went unconscious. I asked my corner to explain to me how he got it. And he said, no, it was just a regular guillotine. And he's like, it blew my mind. It haunts him. That fight haunts Prater.
Yeah, well, good. I don't have anything against Prater. I like Prater a lot. We fought again. We fought again in another tournament, but he's real cool.
Yeah, real cool guy. It's better that it haunts him than it haunts you.
Yeah, I got enough stuff that haunts me. I don't need that one on my plate either. He can have it.
So the second person for the finals is a rematch with Shaun Beckett. Shaun Beckett's getting a second crack at Drew.
How'd that go?
Our buddy Shawn. Well, this time I realized I didn't want to stand bang with the guy because the guy hit real hard. And like I said, I had never been hit that hard by someone, and I still haven't. Well, when I wasn't prepared for a fight raising the cage later on, we'll get to that. But anyway, until that fight, I hadn't been hit like that, and where it had like a lasting effect, right? Because even after the fight, I blew my nose, which I didn't know, not to blow your nose if you have like a hard punch to your eye or something.
It blew up.
And it blew up, man. Oh, my whole sinuses were like in pain. So anyway, it was a good reminder, like, hey, this guy hits pretty hard. Let's stick with what got you to the dance. And so I took him down and I choked him out.
That's excellent. That's excellent.
I mean, most of these guys, they take guys down and they're like, playing in the guy's guard, playing in the half guard. I would take a guy down with like more of like a, usually if I could, like a body lock sag or a position where it took them down to the ground where immediately I just had position and I wouldn't play jiu-jitsu at all. I'd basically wrestle and I'd skip the jiu-jitsu position so I could choke them out, which might
Go
make
right
me a
to a
shortcutter.
dominant spot
Might make
and
me a
extend it.
shortcutter, but you know,
Work
shortcuts
smarter,
work
not
well for
harder.
me in fighting sometimes.
Yeah,
Smarter,
50
not
Fight
harder.
Club.
Exactly. 50
Yeah, we
Fight
got a
Club.
couple more with you.
Yeah, maybe I can get 50 more. We'll see.
Right. So May 14, 2004.
Mike thinks I'm joking.
You go. I'm with you, dude. I'm in. I'll go.
I got a
we got
question
it.
for you real quick.
We
Have you
got
ever
this.
thought about bare knuckle?
No, that's retarded. I play the violin, so half those fights get stopped with broken hands. There's no way I'm risking the health of my hands.
Well, we don't have too many violinists here, so you're probably best.
Yeah.
Maybe we can do a BKFC orchestra, and Drew can be in it.
Let's do it.
So
You just gotta find
all
out a
right.
couple string players.
Yeah.
There's a World Freestyle Fighting in British Columbia, Canada, and you obviously head north, and you fight somebody from the Brazilian top team that opens up a gym, in Canada named Fabio
That
Holanda.
guy was a stud. Yeah, that guy was
Super
a
stud.
man. He was GSP's jiu-jitsu coach for years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brazahabi gets like an unfair credit for that. It's Fabio.
Unfair that he was GSP's
Well,
coach.
he takes all the credit for being GSP's jiu-jitsu coach when it's actually Holanda.
Good business, right?
Oh.
So how's
what
that
it
fight
is.
go? How's the fight go?
I was ready. Me and Jamie was my corner for that fight. Foreigner. We slept till like 5 p.m. So we were real rested. And then we went in and I was just jacked for that fight. I don't know. I was jacked because it was like now I'm fighting all the time and I'm used to traveling and fighting. So I'm not missing a beat now. Like I'm feeling really dialed in because I must have fought like 6 times in such a short period of time against like solid competition, right?
Yeah.
Studs. So I was like, fuck yeah, let's do this. And I came out and like I touched him with a jab and he was like, oh, fuck that. And he had kind of surprisingly good wrestling for Brazilian. I remember he shot in. The fight's pretty entertaining as far as like transitions and
It's insane. The exchanges between
scrambling
you two is
goes.
insane.
Yeah, I think
Good
it's
scrambles.
online. Yeah, so he takes me down almost. And then I get back up and then I'm punching him and then he takes me down again to my back, right to my butterfly guard. And immediately I'm like, I don't want to be on my back with this guy. You still there, guys? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
My phone's about to die, so I'll have to move this in a second.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be on my back with this guy. So I'm in butterfly. As soon as my butt touches the ground, I'm kicking out and using that body lock, like stand up from butterfly technique, right back up to my feet, right? And then I'm shooting in for a takedown, and he hits a Kimura on me, and I freaking go. He's in top half, and then I roll to my top, and I'm rolling on top, and it was a good scramble. And then at the end, I think at the beginning of that, did I take us back in that round or maybe the next round? Yeah, somewhere in that round, I took us back, but I didn't finish. And then I remember in the second round, he must have been gassed because I put a lot of pressure on him. And I was a little, probably about 5 pounds bigger than him, 6, 7 pounds bigger than him. And he shot in trying to take me down because he did not want to be on his feet with me. And I stuffed his shot from headlock position and used a shin pass on his shoulder and boom, back choke. And it was great. I choked him out. He third in the world in the Brazilian Worlds.
Wow. You were also in his personal space big time. Was there something personal happening between you two? Was you started real
What
intense?
do you mean? Oh no, I don't know, man. I don't know. I just pretty intense guy, I guess.
Okay.
I don't get the chance to like let loose, you know. I'm kind of usually quiet, pretty introverted. So
You've been impossible to track down for this interview, so I believe you.
yeah. Sorry.
That's all right.
No, it's our pleasure, brother.
I want to knock out one more, if you're cool with it, because I know you said your phone's dying. We talked about Kenny Florian.
I just plugged it in, so we're good.
Oh, okay. All right, so we'll get a couple more then. Kenny Florian, cool. You win a split decision. Here's the thing about that fight. Kenny's only 2-0. No one really knows him outside of that Boston area. You're 22-2. Dana White's in attendance, specifically scouting yourself. And the thing about it is, initially the fight was supposed to be at 160. Then it gets moved up to 165. It was supposed to be
against Jamie Varner.
Okay, because 2 days before the event, it's up to 175.
Wow.
It was supposed to be 170 because I usually fought at 170.
Uh-huh.
I think it was 170.
I think you came in at 75.
Well, I made weight, so if I came in
you did? I don't know where I read that online. Okay. All right.
I thought it was 70 the weight class, but
now Dana White was in attendance. Did you guys have a conversation afterward?
No, I didn't even know really who that was at the time.
Oh, shit, he knew who you were. That's for sure. Shortly thereafter, that's July 10th, 2004. You said you had to sit a little time in county, and February 5th, 2005, you make your UFC 51 debut.
Yeah.
Chris, he gets Nick Diaz as his first pull.
I've heard of that guy.
So it's your second instance with Nick because he was cornering Shaun Beckett in the four-man tournament. And now you're in front of him.
What was that, Drew?
I thought technically it was a real good first fight matchup-wise for me, but that doesn't take into account that Nick's a great strategist. He is real good at playing possum, and yeah, he had experience. He definitely had the experience of fighting a few times in the UFC before I fought him. So I think that's the biggest thing. The first fight in the UFC is tough.
Yeah,
that's what I told Kurt Pelligrino after we fought. I'm like, don't even let it get you down, man. The first fight's kind of weird. So
yeah.
What are you gonna do?
They always fight better. A lot of times, very rarely people fight great the first time. Usually, it's not a great showing. So.
But yeah, anyway, I got a terrible ref stoppage in that fight. I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen the fight, but yeah, I'm playing my open guard, roll around on my back kind of thing, and he's just throwing these punches that aren't really making any contact. And again, this is before they really understood more of the intricacies about the ground game, I feel, and they stopped the fight prematurely. I mean,
so
I don't know. It is what it is.
What were weigh-ins like between you and Nick? Was there any issues?
I mean, he was like talking a lot of shit, like right before the fight, like right before we walked out. But it was almost like he was like talking to himself, trying to get himself fired up.
Yeah.
Right.
Were you responding to him when he was talking, or just saying whatever, or just? No,
whatever. You know, I mean, I've had hundreds of wrestling matches under my belt this time, you know, all over the country. Yeah. So it's like, whatever. Right. But, you know, I was a little upset. I don't know. I thought he was a fucking asshole for like saying that shit to me before the fight. So I just totally stonewalled him like after the fight, and I'd see him at like tournaments, like jiu-jitsu tournaments. And finally he had some guy come up to me and be like, "Hey, Nick wants to know, like, why are you mad at him?" And I'm like, "Well, he was a fucking asshole before we fought." And so he came up and we hashed it out, whatever. So that's just the way he gets fired up, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless like you're a douchebag and you like try to do his thing that motivates him, right? You
yeah.
A fake Connor or whatever.
Yeah.
Like during the first round, he was talking shit to you during the fight as well.
Well, I don't remember that. Was that maybe he was. Maybe that's why I was pissed off.
Yeah. He's like, what are you gonna do now, bitch? Yeah. But it's part of it. It's part of the Diaz allure.
Whatever.
All right. So
I'll beat him 9 times out of 10 now.
Yeah.
That's good. Oh yeah. Yeah. So on August 6, 2005, I mean, it was your UFC debut. Nick obviously had a fight prior. You run into Josh Neer, who we also have had on the program.
No, I fought Brandon Melendez before that, outside of the UFC.
Oh, you had one fight outside, then right back in. That's correct. You are correct.
Yeah. I might have had 2 fights. No, 1 fight. Because I fought outside the UFC when I wasn't supposed to in a fight. Like a local fight. Yeah. I don't think they ever found out about it, but or maybe they did. Man. Maybe they did. That's one of the reasons they kicked me out. They're like, we got stuff.
Usually they're on that, man. They're usually Joe's watching. He'll give you the call, Chris, not supposed to be fighting again. What do you know? Like that.
Huh. Yeah, so with Josh Neer, did you guys have bad blood as well? Because I knew there were some kind of post-fight antics.
Yeah, I was fucking pissed at that dude. Because we weighed in and the guy wouldn't shake my fucking hand. It might not be a big deal like to most people, but like I come from like a martial arts, karate, like yes sensei, no sensei background, right?
Respect.
So like, yeah, whatever. And the guy wouldn't shake my hand. I remember they're like, oh yeah, all business, Neer, all business, baby, the businessman. And I was just like, okay. And then we fought, and I fucking choked them out cold. And they were still too fucking gingerbread on cable television about the UFC to make that fight televised. Which, if you guys have seen the choke, it's a great choke. I'm literally on the dude's back and choke him out cold. It looks real nasty, and they didn't televise it. But anyway. After I choked him out, he's unconscious. And who is it? Steve Mazzagatti? That fucking guy, Steve Mazzagatti. Dude, that guy must smoke so much fucking pot because I'm on the dude's back and yeah, I'm pissed at Josh, but I don't want to kill him. And he's done. He's out. And I'm talking to the ref. I'm like, yo, he's unconscious.
Out. Yeah.
And he's just staring at me like something's not turned on upstairs. And so finally I just let it go. And his head's like, he's out, he's unconscious. And they stopped the fight, right? And then I leaned down as he woke up. I'm like, you want to shake my hand now, bitch? And that's the only time that I've ever used that kind of bravado or tough guy, just because I didn't like his attitude. So and you know what's not cool? What's not fucking cool is Jesse Forbes, who's one of the guys who got me fucking kicked out of fucking Arizona Combat Academy because he's a jealous bitch. He fucking calls up Josh Neer that night after I choke him out, right? I mean, I feel like he got what he got. Like, you don't need to rub it in anymore. This dude fucking that I used to train with, like I said, Jesse Forbes, he calls up fucking Josh Neer and he's like talking shit to the dude. Like, guy just lost a fucking huge fucking fight in his career. And he's like talking shit to him.
Boy, that's low.
Yeah. And I was like, I walked in. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, gets real quiet. I'm like, who are you on the phone with? He's like, no one. And then I find out later on, because I wanted to go train with Matt Hughes and Pat Militech and those guys. They're like, yeah, Josh Neer doesn't really want you here because he says you called him and talk shit to him after the fight. I'm like, yeah, that wasn't me, but I understand, whatever. That's kind of how my life's gone a little bit. Like, someone else does some shit, I get blamed for it. Someone else talks shit to me and I have to drive a fucking truck through the fucking Papa John's storefront. I mean, come on.
We've all been there. So
yeah.
Did you, hey, question, at the end of the fight, did he shake your hand?
He didn't know where he was, man. I got a great picture somewhere where he's off, Oh, we've all been there. Nothing personal.
Yeah, he was a great interview for us. He gave us a lot of time. He was awesome. Are you good for a couple more?
Yeah.
My man, Josh Koscheck, UFC Fight Night 2, baby.
Koscheck.
Dude, this is
I really put together a good camp for that one. Another like Dennis Hallman type camp.
So
I wish
you
I could
came out.
I wish I could have trained like I did for Dennis and Josh Koscheck every fight of my life. That would have been smart.
It was the debut of the Master as a nickname.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Show enough.
So no, you ain't that bad. Show no.
The thing is with Koscheck, he's got, I mean, 2-time All-American, 1-time national champion. Like, he's got all these wrestling credentials, but he's also only 4-0. And now you got Drew Fickett, who's 27-3. Like, that's a lot of experience to be throwing at somebody that's kind of beginning their MMA career.
It was after his fights on the Ultimate Fighter, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I didn't really see him fight that much, right? I saw some fights on the Ultimate Fighter, but it just looked like he was trying to take people down, right?
That's all he did, bro.
And coming from like, a great wrestling background and pedigree, I wasn't under no illusion that the guy was a better wrestler than me, right? So I didn't really train much wrestling for that fight. I'm like, fuck it, what's the point?
Yeah.
Guy's gonna take me down. He's gonna take me down. So I mostly trained trying to knee him in the face when he's shooting in, or
Smart.
I don't know, ground stuff. So anyway, I trained real hard, put together the treadmill sprints, and the only thing I would change about my training then was, which I do now, is that I lifted so much weights then, man. And weights are pointless, in my opinion. I don't see the point now. But anyway, I was big and strong as far as like, muscles go. So the fight opened up and I felt real good. I felt like I had a slight edge in the stand up. I was never like a great stand-up guy, but I definitely felt like, okay, I have a little bit of ability on this guy as far as striking goes. And then he started shooting in, and there wasn't really a whole lot I could do. You fought him, right, Chris?
Yeah, same thing. He continued to just try and
You
take
fought
me
him when
down
I
and
fought
dry hump me.
Karo, right?
Huh?
He fought you when I fought Karo Parisyan, right?
I can't remember. I just
At
remember
the Miramar, the Marine
It was at
Corps
the
base?
military base.
no.
No.
I fought him in Vegas. I just remember I got cut open all over the place. Bled a lot with a little elbow.
Well, he just, you got to keep the guy off you. So anyway,
yeah.
he kept taking me down, and I had. Go ahead.
No, I just remember when I fought him. They offered me the fight. I was like, man, he ain't gonna do nothing besides try to take me down. And they're like, oh no, all he does is work stand up anymore. It's like, I swear he's not gonna stand up with me. Yeah, he will, Chris. Nope, he didn't stand up with us.
No, he won't.
Yeah.
I mean, so anyway, he took me down, but I was pretty much ready for that. I wasn't like under any illusion that he wasn't going to take me down. What I was doing is just kind of playing possum and like trying to get him tired, and I had a real good ground for my back. Like, I don't know many guys at that time that had the sense of wrestling that I had with the ground game off my back. Right.
Yeah.
I had pretty much a good mixture of both worlds. And I just played a lot of possum. I'd let him pass, I'd make him work. I'd make him work to pass, but I'd let him pass, right? I let him mount one time just so I could give him an arm bar, which he took, and I spun out of it, almost got on top, because I figured all I needed to do is get on top.
Mm-hmm.
I get on top, fight's over.
Yeah.
Right? And I almost got on top then. And there was a knee that I landed in the second round that was close to really making good contact. And it was just more of the same.
Your up kick at the end of the second, or about a minute 30 left in the second round. I don't think Josh ever recovered from that.
Oh, really? I don't remember. Huh. I guess I should watch the fight again. It's been a while. But yeah, so this is more of the same, me trying to bait him into something and him just wrestling hard, right? Wrestling hard. Get that decision.
Yeah.
And, I think John McCarthy, right? Is that his name? The ref? Yeah. So John McCarthy, he saw that Josh was on top of me with like, I don't even know, like 20 seconds left or something, 30 seconds. I don't know.
30, yeah.
48
And I think
seconds.
I still think he felt like kind of like, maybe I didn't call that Nick Diaz fight too good. So no, I'm serious, because I looked up at him. I'm like, come on, John, give me a chance this time. And like a couple seconds later, he's like, all right, stand him up.
Yeah.
And then, obviously I know what Josh's going to do. He's going to run in and shoot. Yeah. So I hit a switch 9. And I meant to kick him in the head with my shin, but he just crowded me so much. He ran right into a left high kick knee. Mm-hmm. And then, he dropped and didn't have time to punch him. So what I usually do is jump on his back and choke him out, which is pretty cool because it was kind of like a knockout and a choke out.
I remember watching that. That was sweet, man. I remember watching that. It was just like, man, that flair for the dramatics, man, coming back. It's like, throwing the Hail Mary pass at the end and just stay in the fight the whole time and waiting for the right time, waiting for the opportunity, and you capitalize on it. It was awesome.
Yeah, it makes it worthwhile. Yeah.
Is it luck when somebody consistently does that, though?
It's not luck, no.
No. I mean, here, you got Josh Koscheck, Carlo Prater, Shaun Beckett.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I mean, he's got 3 of them. Like, that's not luck. It's, it's a machine. Like you never quit. And you even said, like, in your post fight, that you never quit fighting. The same type of thing happened against Carlo Prater. And you know what? You gave Carlo Prater a shout out. I guarantee that meant the world to that guy.
Oh, Carlo, me and Chris, we're all on the same level, I mean, he's just a real fighter, a real G.
Yeah.
He just wants to compete. I don't know if he still competes, but
he does.
He talked about wanting to fight.
We fought each other again.
He actually just fought in
you have
Serbia.
A fight card, Chris?
What's that, buddy?
You have a fight card?
No, man. I'm out, man. I'm a little older than you guys. I'm 47 now, man. I said Carlos still wanting to fight.
I meant you have a fight card.
So I promote stuff?
Yeah.
He's doing a bare knuckle.
I do commentary for the bare knuckle. I'm the commentator.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah,
that's cool.
That's fun to commentate. But I mean, yeah, like I said, I'm 47 now, man. Those days are over, man. My body hurts.
My body hurts every day, but it is what it is, right?
How old are you now? 40?
I'm gonna be 42. And yeah, I feel it all over, but I mean, I spend a religious amount of time like taking care of my body, eating healthy. Like as crazy as I was when I was younger, I'm not crazy about health and my body and like taking care of myself and my athletes now. So I kind of pulled a 180 the other way.
That's good. That's good.
All right. So if we're talking MMA trivia, we got a guy named Crowbar that kind of peels trivia questions from our podcast.
Yeah.
The UFC Fight Night 3, you fight your 3rd Josh in a row with Josh Burkman.
It was bound to be a curse, man.
I don't know if that's trivia or not, but I guarantee no one else has got that on the record.
Probably not. Well, first of all, that guy was a lot tougher than anyone gave him credit for at the time. And second of all, man, I still wasn't taking it that seriously, right? Like I would train hard for specific fights, but I don't know, man. I needed a mentor. That's what I needed. Right? I need a mentor. I remember I read some book that Michael Johnson wrote about, called Slaying the Dragon. It was just about peak performance and professional greatness and organizing your life. And I definitely implemented some of that stuff, but looking back, it's like, man, all I had to do was be more organized, right?
Yeah.
More organized, and you don't know these things as a kid. You just want to go party and get laid. It's all that matters. It's called hormones. But so I ended up leaving Arizona Combat Academy where I had all this success and going out to California and like hanging out with this guy, Jason Chambers, and chasing this girl around. And I was training at Eddie Bravo's gym. At the time, Rogan was training there a little bit too. And I don't know, man. It wasn't the same camp, right? Dwayne Ludwig, we trained a little bit. Boss Rudin a little bit. I don't know. It wasn't the same. Everything was so far to drive. for me, whenever I had a good camp or a good experience pre-fight preparation, I was always close to like my gym, close to my chiropractor, close to everything. So I didn't have to spend too much time transmuting, right? So I don't know, just the change of pace and the fact that I was, you know, just chasing girls and not really living the lifestyle a fighter should live. And I didn't take this guy. The biggest thing is I didn't take this guy, Josh Burkman, serious. Because I saw him on The Ultimate Fighter. I'm like, this guy sucks. Finally, an easy fight for UFC. Fuck. And fucking went out there and he caught me in a guillotine and smoked me. Fucking 30 seconds, 45 seconds. Bam. Just goes to show you, man, it doesn't matter how good you are. It doesn't matter how good the other guy is. It only matters how good you are that night or that day, right? That's all that matters.
And it seems like there is no easy fights in UFC anymore, especially those guys when they came off the reality show. All of a sudden, they go to like legit camps and they got good quick. You know what I mean? So it just it was tough.
Well, you know, on top of that, I think that whatever took place in that fight, you said you needed a mentor at that time. Obviously, you left the Lally Brothers over at Arizona Combat Sports, and you wind up, I'm assuming, because you're cornered by him, you start training with Ivan Salaberry for Kurt Pelligrino.
Let's see. Well, Karo was before that, right?
No, Karo's after that.
Oh, okay. No, I trained in Tucson. I moved back down to Tucson, and I trained in Tucson for Kurt Pelligrino.
It was you had Salaberry in your corner.
Not for that one. He was in my corner for Karo Parisyan.
Okay. All right. I saw it was, you were training with Hallman and
because
Salaberry.
Dennis was supposed to be in my corner, and something happened with Dennis, and he didn't make the flight. Ooh. So Ivan was there.
Okay. So you got Kurt Pelligrino, who's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt under Hermes Franca.
And a state champ wrestler from New Jersey.
State champion wrestler. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
pretty good, pretty damn good stand-up.
Yeah.
Andy Wang, Anthony Leon, who's now the head coach of the Sunnyside wrestling team, who I coached in high school. Anthony Leon was in my corner. Andy Wang was in my corner. Who else was in my corner? I know those two guys were in my corner.
Yeah, it was a back and forth contest that ended with you getting the rear naked choke against Kurt Pelligrino. And in a rare instance, you see Joe Silva enter the ring and give you some, congratulate yourself for your performance.
Oh, he doesn't do that?
And that often.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
What was your relationship with him like, though? You see, he
sent me an email once in a while.
You didn't.
That was pretty personal.
Yeah, because some of the guys he would talk to and be chatty with, and then other people describe him being real surly or anything like So,
I mean, I just treated them like, I don't know, the hired help or something. Like they were just there. Him, Dana, like, no offense, but like you're not a fighter, right? You're an accountant. Like,
yeah,
okay, cool. I'm not gonna disrespect you, but you're a fucking accountant. Like,
I mean, it's kind of weird. Like, look like the NFL. Who are all the superstars? It's the players. It's not necessarily a coach. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I think I understand.
Well, I mean, even at least the coaches have more. Yeah, at least even the coaches have more of an impact with the players, right? Like, because they actually are with the players. These guys who run their business, they don't fucking care about you. Yeah. And honestly, they shouldn't. It's their business. Like, what? They shouldn't get involved personally with their employees, right? So I don't know. That's the way I look at it. And it's such a big business. And now it's an even more big business. But even when I was, in the UFC, it was pretty big business, sponsored by the Fertitta brothers before I think they sold it or whatever. So, I mean, whatever, it's just another fight. It was just cool that my friends got to watch me on TV. And it was cool that the fight happened. We got treated real well. We got our per diem money. We didn't have to worry about our checks bouncing.
Yeah.
Right. When they said they were going to pay us a bonus, they paid us a bonus. Like, I don't know. It'd be nice if all fights were like that, but that's why they're the best, because they have a different standard of care for their athletes and their employees and their professionals.
Did you ever get ripped off by a promoter?
I mean, Roland Sarria ripped me off every fight, but we both knew he was ripping me off. So is that really getting ripped off?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No,
I don't. I don't think I have been ripped off yet. I think most of the fighters I know, like, I think everyone's been ripped off at least once. So I'm shocked. But how about you, Chris?
What was your
Have you been ripped off in a fight?
Oh yeah, we were talking about a guy named Ed Kim up in Chicago, put on a big fight. He's probably 7 UFC veterans on the thing, and there's about 50 to 60 people showed up, and everybody's check bounced. That dude files bankruptcy, disappears from the face of the earth. So that really pissed me off. Jeez. Yeah, I got ripped off my second fight ever. So guy said he's gonna pay me $250, and he paid me $100. We argued for a while, and then I was like, you know what, give me my $100. And then I said I'll never fight for him again. I never did. So
yeah, I don't know how they stay. I don't know how they stay in business.
I don't either.
You would think you rip off one guy and then the other fighters would talk, but I guess fighters don't really talk about, they don't really.
Well, a lot of fighters are like, oh, he ain't gonna do that to me. We'll see. You know what I mean? And this dude rips everybody.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, good luck with that, man. I warned you.
Good
that's
luck.
all I can do. If you don't want to listen, good. You get what's coming to you.
Yeah.
What was your relationship like with Jason Chambers? You had mentioned him earlier, your former manager.
I met him in Phoenix, and he was just like, real charismatic guy, real nice guy. And I don't know, I was getting kicked out of the gym in Arizona Combat Academy, so he offered to, you guys still there?
Yeah.
Okay. So he offered for me to come out there, stay with him, and I could train at Eddie Bravo's. And it seemed like a viable option because I just got kicked out of my gym that I was training at. And so went out there. I don't know. He was just never really that serious about the sport, So, I mean, I don't really want to say anything bad about him because he helped me out along the way.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. He just wasn't serious like I was, and it's at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, it's the people that you surround yourself with or don't surround yourself with. Right.
Yeah.
So I would choose not to surround myself, with him looking back, but
where are you training out of right now, man? Are you still in the Phoenix area?
It's pretty cool. There was this guy that was, stalking his girlfriend in Phoenix, and she was a stripper.
That is cool.
And he ended up stealing his girlfriend's purse. And me and him, and I think Jamie Varner at the time, we got the guy on the phone, and Jason Chambers pretended to be like the police, and the guy was only going to give the purse back to the detective on the case. And so he played this off. Anyway, the guy said that he would meet us and give us a purse back. Well, we met him, and we ended up driving our car through his, and he ended up getting away. But it was pretty cool because, like, I completely totaled my fucking car because we were like, well, what do we do? He's right there. And we got excited. Instead of getting out, like, just like restraining the guy and getting her purse back, we just fucking like throttled the car and fucking plowed into his car. And I hit it in such a way that I totally totaled the car we were driving, and we barely made it home, but he got away. So anyway.
One thing I've learned from all my crash up derby things, you always hit them with the rear of your car. Don't do the front. That's why your car get brakes. So
that's why.
Hit them in reverse next time.
Yeah.
No, but I was asking. I love Phoenix. I got one of my good buddies, chiropractors there. I go visit every now and again. So in the Phoenix area.
What's his name?
His name's Dr. Buckner.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What about Brian Hamper? your other manager that you've had?
Brian's cool. I hear he's doing real well with like a sponsorship clothing company or something, right?
Cool.
Brian Hamper.
No, I said cool. That's good.
Oh, okay, yeah. Seth keeps a hold of him still. Seth Baczynski. You should have Seth Baczynski on this show.
Yeah.
He's real charismatic, and he's got a lot of the same attitudes that we have about the old school fighters.
Good. Good.
Yeah, Brian's cool.
Seth fought for me in Russia.
Brian was never like mean enough to like really understand me. He was always just like a really nice guy. But he never did me any wrong.
What about your appearance on Judge Judy?
What?
Yeah, that was
I
pretty
hear about
funny,
this.
huh?
What were we on Judge Judy for?
Well, we were at a party, and I might have been a little inebriated, and we found some golf clubs in the garage, and I don't know, I just wanted to hit some golf balls, so we took the golf clubs, and I got on top of some dude's car, some girl's car at the party, and I was trying to put the ball on the roof, but it kept rolling off, so I stomped a bunch of dents in the top of the car, and I was hitting golf balls like off the roof of the car into the house windows. I don't know, they didn't like that too much, so they somehow they had some sort of like connection to Judge Judy. So me and my girlfriend at the time got flown out to Los Angeles, put in a hotel, and went on this thing called Judge Judy, where they do a mock trial, but it's all fake. I mean, yeah. Judge Judy used to be a real judge, but
yeah,
it's all fake. And if you lose, they pay your settlement. So
I'm in. Yeah,
I'm in because it was either that or they're going to sue me in civil court in Tucson. So fuck it. So I don't know.
What'd you say to Judge Judy? Hey man, what'd you say to her? Why you did it?
Dude, I was so arrogant and like stupid, man. You know, just your typical young, like cocky kid, like. Yeah.
She probably didn't treat you very well, did she?
No, I mean, I was supposed to be the bad guy, right? Like they instructed me to like interrupt her as much as possible so that then she could like reprimand me, right? Put me in my place. It's all scripted.
I'm sure that's funny.
And you know what's even worse? All right, so they're going to pay for the damages, obviously, that she decides that comes out of the show budget. Like, it's actually a horrible deal for the person getting the money because they're never going to recoup what it is they're supposed to get.
Yeah, I never thought of that. That's a good point.
It helped you out. That's all we care about. I love it.
All right, let's close out with Karo Parisyan. UFC fight night. It's on a military base against, I got my theory on this. We'll let you start.
Yeah, I had a good camp. That's when I went up and trained with Dennis and Ivan a little bit. We probably trained with Ivan maybe like 3 weekends for that one. But I was training out in Lowell, not Lowell, that's Massachusetts. It's a little outskirt town of Olympia, Washington. And I don't know. I mean, those guys just don't train that hard.
Is it Yakima?
No, it's right by Olympia. Just southeast. Yelm. Yeah, Yelm.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where Dennis went to high school. Anyway, we were in Yelm, and he has a gym at his house, which is an awesome gym. But I don't know, those guys just like they get away with just being like tough and talented, right? Like they don't really put in a lot of work. They put in just enough work. So it was hard to find people to train with, but I was in shape. I was doing my treadmill sprint workout. I was ready. And then, like I said, Ivan Salivary was in my corner, and Dennis ended up missing the flight, which we'll keep that to ourselves. Andy Wang was in my corner, I believe. Yeah, Andy Wang, Ivan Salivary, and Dennis was supposed to be there.
Were you involved in any of the hijinks involving Jeff Monson up there?
What did he do?
With Dennis Hallman? Like there
Dennis
was like a war.
No, I know who Jeff Munson is. When he spray painted the Capitol and shit.
No, Dennis declared war on Jeff Monson, even though they were teammates. And like it culminated with like taking his driver's side car seat out, like while Jeff was at work. So Jeff would have to drive home on a bag of leaves.
Yeah, that sounds
putting
like
his
something
furniture on his roof.
He put all his furniture from his living room on top of his roof in the exact right order.
Including the cat.
Amazing. Yeah, that sounds like something they would do for fun.
Yeah.
Washington.
I'm
So
out.
anyway, came out and Karo was surprisingly, well, not surprised, should have been ready for him to be good in the upper body Greco clinch position since he's a good fucking judo guy. But it was surprisingly like impossible for me to like body lock and take down like I had everybody else.
Yeah.
So he ends up taking me down in the first round, or the first or the second round. He ends up taking me down. And I have like my arms locked behind my leg, like this, and holding him, right? Like when you hold the guy in your guard, there's no way you can get out. So I'm just stalling from here. And then all of a sudden I let it go and pop, elbow. And I fucking cut him open like nobody's business. I mean, his face is fucked up from that. And the round ends and he's shaking his head like he doesn't want to come out. And Andy Wang's like, he's quitting, Drew. He's quitting. You won. I'm like, fuck. And I'm looking over. I'm like, he's quitting. And then like somehow his corner like got him to stop fucking around.
Get out there.
Yeah, get out there. And so then they started the next round. And I just remember it was pretty back and forth. I ended up getting a double at the end of the second round and getting some really good elbows because I was trying to reopen up that or make that cut even worse. And in the third round, he had really good pressure and he had surprisingly pretty good boxing. Like, I mean, I had no boxing at the time. I was just a fighter, right? But he had pretty good range and good pressure, and he punched me a lot. And I had a lot of like damage that I didn't even realize I had till after the fight when I saw pictures of my face. But you know, the end of the fight, it was those judo hips where I couldn't get him in a compromising position to eke out one of those Hail Mary wins. Yeah. But it was a good fight, back and forth. And when they told me I won fight of the night with Karo, I mean, we were the happiest guys in the world. Like, there's nothing better than that. I mean, fuck, $20,000. It was 20 grand at the time. So 20 grand was gone in a few months. But hey, it was fun.
I think the one thing that came into play that you couldn't have like accounted for was the match before this. Karo fights Diego Sanchez, and the reason Karo loses is because he hits a cardio wall dealing with the wrestling. Once Karo understood that every single time he went to the ground with you, you were sucking energy from him, he changed up his game plan. Had you got that fight before Diego, you 100% would have won a decision.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. Karo was a good competitor. He had a lot
of phenomenal.
Good hips, like you said.
Yeah, good competitor. But hey, Dennis got him for me, so.
Yeah. If I had to pick one night that was the greatest night in the history of Drew Fickett in terms of fighting, your September 10th, 2010 Newkirk, Oklahoma Shine Fights, the 8-man tournament, absolutely falls into that category.
There you go. I got to take a leap.
There it is.
There it is. I got to take a leap.
Like, well, we're going to wrap this up. We're done. But
I'm like an hour past due, but it's all right.
I know, man. I know. My old lady's going to kill me too. Miguel, where were we at time-wise?
I don't know, but I got 2 files. This one's over an hour, and I think the other one was an hour and a half already. So
okay. So here, he's peeing. I guarantee you can hear me. He's pissing in a cup for sure. Shine Fights, his first opponent's Charles Bennett. Said, yep. He's got Charles Bennett. In the first round, he wins by guillotine. Charles Bennett slammed his way out of an armbar. Drew Fickett trapped his right arm and hit him with the guillotine. Charles Bennett goes completely out while trying to suplex.
There's the picture of it right there.
Phenomenal. Second fight, awesome. Dennis Bermudez, who
he's good too.
He's got a win over Max Holloway.
Yeah, Bermudez. There it is. Look at this.
Rear naked choke. Man, thanks, man. This helps our editor out. That's great.
Exactly.
That's great. Look at that. He gets a rear naked choke over Dennis Bermudez, And then in his third fight that night, he's got Carlo Prater in a rematch that Carlo's been begging for.
This is the greatest picture ever, though, right here from the Shine tournament. This is just like, you can see Crazy Horse's face. He's just cheesing. Yeah, that's special.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he beats Carlo Prater with the rear naked choke. He wins a 8-man tournament. Drew, why don't you tell them how many times you got punched that night?
0.
Yep.
Man, that's a good day. That's a good. Hey, that's a tough tournament.
Everybody out.
Those are all good guys.
Choked everybody out in what, 7 minutes?
Wow.
Yeah, it was a good tournament, good competition, and they paid me, so I showed up. 50 grand. 50 grand, man. $50,000.
What?
Yeah.
Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah,
that's a good
That's what a focused Drew Fickett can do.
Yeah.
On the way out, did you call Joe Silva to get Joe Lauzon in the UFC?
Danny Lauzon.
Danny Lauzon. You got Danny Lauzon in the UFC?
I may have. I don't remember.
Okay.
I was always trying to help guys out because Danny was on my team. So
makes sense.
Cool. All right.
Drew,
Cool.
hey man, I really appreciate your time. Fascinating stories, great career. Love your grinding out and still doing things, man. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Man, that was really good. I really enjoyed a lot of that. Very interesting guy. It threw me off when he was like, talked about bare knuckles. Like, Chris, I play the violin. So, okay. Man, just I didn't know about how many rear naked chokes that guy had. Just his thought process is very simple. I like a lot of what he said. I love the interesting story about the Papa John's fiasco. Man, what an interesting development.
Well, this is what I think. Like, one, he's impossible. Like this, anyone that interviews him after us, they're gonna have to show up at his house. Like it was incredibly difficult to get him. But I believe, well, he texted me after saying he had a good time. So what I think now is we concentrate on his grappling career, some of his fights after the UFC, and his out of the cage hijinks. I think we've got enough of a rapport where he's brutally honest. Even when he's at fault, he's talked about like his mistakes. And we didn't push too hard. Obviously, when those windows were open, I didn't feel comfortable doing that. But I think that window of opportunity is set up for the next interview. That's my personal opinion.
But and he gave us a few windows, like, to be honest with you, I'm friends with Dennis Hallman, but from back in the day, I booked him a bunch of times and stuff. I didn't realize that he had spent time training up there and that he had, all those exchanges with them and stuff like that. And he has, as many of those road warriors from the 50 Fight Club do, he has ties to a lot of interesting people and interesting moments in MMA history. So Drew Fickett, thank you, bro.
Well, so Miguel, how much influence do you think Dennis Hallman had in how Drew Fickett handled situations? Because, Drew Fickett goes out there, Dennis Hallman kind of reads the situation, plies his partying friends with him because, he's such a nice guy. They keep Drew drinking for 3 days before the fight. He says a girl showed up. Of course, he never partook in that. That's not something that, Drew Fickett would do. And it's just like, you can see that type of interaction could change somebody, especially a Drew Fickett type. Would you not agree?
I think he found birds of a feather there. I think Drew's a guy that I think he said he didn't like, too many rules or following people there. And I think I was going to ask him when he was driving through that Papa John's window in Arizona, did he think for a minute he was in Washington? Because in Washington, he probably wouldn't have been arrested. He probably would have gotten away with it out there.
Man, I just was thinking about, like, it almost makes me look at, Dennis Hallman, like, man, this guy, he's on it. He has a lot of, and just those minions he has people doing everything. What that's a team effort that he has going on, man. Geez.
So we've changed our format. We've evolved from like the first 10, 15, even 20 podcasts.
Yeah.
And if I were to kind of hit the rewind button and just slow down a little bit and redo it, Hallman, Monson, and Jeremy Horn, those are my three guys I'd like to redo because they're just, I think we went a little too fast, even though we got in depth. There was more there that we could have gotten. So maybe after we hit 100 episodes, we got to have Hallman back, dude. Now that we know so much more.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
all
right.
Another good one in the books. We got the schedule full. We will be delivering as long as you guys keep hitting the likes, subscribes, and comments. We're getting good comments too, interesting comments, and people looking back at some of the older stuff. Don't let Mike, we haven't evolved all that much. That early stuff's gold, man. Go out there and
it's
check
still
it
good, but we've changed our format a little bit, but you're correct. Yes.
Check out the full interview on iTunes, Spotify, and all major podcast platforms.